generally or the bigger prismatic figure to accelerate that further. We know how aggressive players have been playing in 4 versus 4 as well. Playing aggressive, rolling down, trying to hit the 3 stars before someone else can hold on to it. And that's the real big difference I think with it.
Ok, chào mừng các bạn quay trở lại với kênh stream của mình. Thì kênh này thì cũng không phải gọi là bình luận gì đâu, mà chỉ đơn thuần là xem chung thôi, cùng xem nhé. Hiện tại thì chúng ta đang coi giải ESPORTS World Cup, một bộ môn đấu chơi chân lý TFT. Hiện tại đang là trận đấu giữa Virtus Pro, đội tuyển của Việt Nam, đến từ Việt Nam luôn, tất cả các thành viên đều người Việt Nam, và trận đấu với đội Mouse. Thì lướt qua một xíu thì cái chế độ đấu đổi này thì nó sẽ có một cái điểm đặc biệt hơn cái chế độ đấu đơn, đó là các bạn đánh ngôi BO3, thắng 2 trận là thắng. Điểm làm sao để thắng thì đơn giản thôi, các bạn các số điểm ở trong trận từ các vị trí xếp hạng các thành viên, 4 thành viên cao hơn rồi team đối phương để các bạn thắng. Nếu trong trường hợp mà cái điểm bằng nhau thì team thắng sẽ là team mà có được top 1. Đó. Thì hôm qua thì Virtus Pro đã có một trận một game thắng thôi, tổng trận đấu thì là thua, nhưng mà một game thắng bằng cách rằng là mặc dù là số điểm bằng nhau, nhưng mà vào đến round cuối cùng thì chúng ta lại rất là hay và kiếm được một trận thắng và đứng ở top 1. Đảo qua một chút về cái meta của hiện tại thì đang bảng này thi đấu vẫn là bảng 15.1, còn thực tế ở hôm nay ở các máy chủ là ví dụ như máy chủ Việt Nam chúng ta đã đổi sang 15.2 rồi. Meta hiện tại thì vẫn đang là con canh là mạnh, chắc là top TIOS là chưa có thay đổi, nhưng sắp tới sang bản tới là canh sẽ bị giảm sức mạnh. Ngoài ra nữa thì nó còn có những cái bài reroll như các bạn đang thấy đây, là bài Mundo cùng với The Hin 3 sao, Mundo 3 sao rất khỏe ở giai đoạn giữa game và đầu giai đoạn cuối game. Về sau thì tất nhiên là cũng rất là khó để có thể thắng được các đội, cũng rất là khó để top 1, nhưng mà cái bài này thì thường là dễ top 4. Điểm qua một chút thì là như chúng ta vừa thấy lướt qua một bài của team Virtus Pro là đã có con canh 3 sao nha mọi người. Đấy là một cái điểm rất là tốt. Đó. Đây, team này là của Madrid cũng đang cầm canh, nhưng mà đồ này thì chắc là đánh phù thủy rồi. Mosavi cũng một bài canh, không, mình nghĩ là bài phù thủy đấy, bài đấy phù thủy. Lucifer bài phi thường level 8, chắc là có đủ mèo là sẽ đổ đấy. Phi thường học viện, mèo học viện. Qua chút thì hiện tại đang là game 1 nhé. Game này mà trong cái trận đấu này ai thắng thì sẽ trực tiếp đi tiếp vào ở phía nhánh thua. Còn ai mà thua thì chắc chắn là sẽ vali về nước rồi. Nên mình rất là hy vọng là Savi vừa một con GN2 rất sớm từ level 8. Nguy hiểm nha, một con GN2 ở thời điểm này là rất sớm nha. Ở đấy ngay lập tức chúng ta thấy là hai anh em CC1 và Kian qua nhìn bài một con GN2 ở ngay đội hình phù thủy rất tuyệt vời đến từ Savi, rất may mắn. Mọi thứ có thể đảo chiều nha. Savi gặp may Sogang, như thế này thì chắc là Sogang đứt rồi. Chấp nhận để Sogang top 8. Một con quen cực kỳ mạnh, đồ không phải là quá chuẩn nhưng mà như này là được rồi nha mọi người. Đồ này thôi. Sogang sao lại vẫn sống này? Hình như là Sogang cầm lõi Nightlight 9 mạng, tức là mỗi lần thua bạn chỉ bị mất một máu thôi. Hiện tại là anh ta chỉ còn có 5 máu, là vậy là anh ta thua đến 4 trận rồi. Tiếp bài Kian cũng là bài Kian là bài đã có Akali 2, có luôn cả 2 con quân sư 2 sao này, chắc khóa lại thôi. Một bài Akali cũng khá là khỏe, đồ này không phải tối ưu nhưng mà cũng không đến nỗi nào. Thật ra là chỉ nếu mà đổi được cái bùa đỏ kia mà đổi thành một cái đồ phép thì gây ứng phép split phép thì tốt hơn, nhưng mà cái chúng ta sẽ xử lý sau. Đây bạn có vẻ là CHANC có phô máu ngay từ đầu. Đây gặp đội hình Mundo đây các bạn, nhìn nha, bạn nhìn con Mundo nó rất là khỏe. Đây là bây giờ con Akali có thể xử lý nhanh con The Hin không? The Hin với 2 đồ thôi. Akali đã xử lý được The Hin rồi. Bây giờ chỉ còn mỗi con Mundo rất là trâu này thôi. Mình nghĩ là ổn. Đấy phải ở lượng đam này là ổn. Đây, White Jungle. Solo gây sang tiếp tục thua nha mọi người. Update luôn. Bây giờ chỉ còn con CHANC. Đây, solo gây sang cũng có được một con găng 3 sao. Khá là mạnh nha. 4 sensei, 2 song đấu. Đối cơ bản thôi. Quân sư này, dũng sĩ, khá là mạnh nha. Không biết là cầm lõi gì đây, lõi nâng cấp, quả nâng cấp gì đây. Ok, mình thấy rồi, là lõi Gomu. Lanh 3 sao cầm lõi Gomu sẽ rất là khỏe nha mọi người. Đấy, còn chưa kể có thêm một đồ ánh sáng nữa. Thì trận đấu này các bạn như nãy giờ bạn coi có thể thấy là trận này là một trận 3 lõi kim cương, khả năng dãy và khả năng thay đổi tình thế rất là khỏe. Hiện tại thì cái bảng xếp hạng này thì đang không ổn lắm cho team Vitus Pro nha mọi người. Các đội hình là form hết rồi đấy. Chúng ta có bài đầu tiên là của White Jungle, bài The Hin Mundo, bài Savi thì các bạn nãy mình có nói rồi. Đây một con Goen 2 sao, thủy Goen 2 sao. Milo của chúng ta thì đang đánh một bài cái đinh tinh tú, đã có được hàng chắn là Poppy 2 sao full đồ. Chắc phải bỏ đồ vàng cho con đấy rồi, mãi không có mèo. Mãi chưa có xin lỗi các bạn, ở mèo là của bài học viện, mãi chưa có, mọi người đang đổi cấp, Milo đang đổi cấp, mãi chưa có Seraphine. Hy vọng là bây giờ mình đang cần quan tâm đến vị trí của Kian hơn. Gặp Milo gặp NCC1. NCC1 cũng là một con doanh banh 3 sao nha, đồ ánh sáng. Poppy làm rất tốt nhiệm vụ của mình, đẩy anh play được 2 lần và dính hôn gió của Ari. NCC1 lại là người thua. Madrid Savi của Mao sao là có một đội thắng 4 nha mọi người. Hiện tại chỉ còn mỗi West Jungle và tận có của Mao có 35 tiền, còn lại đa số là mọi người xả hết tiền rồi. Thời điểm này là thời điểm bắt đầu xả tiền rồi. Savi cái con Goen 2 sao này đúng là thật rất là khó kiếm được một con. Đang cầm con mèo, cầm mèo tiếp. Mọi người rất nhiều người cầm mèo, bởi vì là đây là đội hình Madrid đang cầm mèo để phá đội hình bài của Madrid đây. Một bài phi thường mèo và Seraphine. Tanh sẽ là Leona học viện. Mèo con Gwen mạnh quá đi thôi. Con Gwen là quá mạnh, rất mạnh. Bên này Lucecher sẽ thắng với White Jungle. Với tình hình như này thì bên team của White Jungle sẽ rất là dễ để xe máu nha mọi người. Solê sang vẫn còn 3 mạng nữa, không thể nào giết nhanh được Solê sang rồi. Việc này là cũng đã vào form rồi, đầy đủ những gì cần có. Bây giờ thêm một con Yasuo 3 sao nữa, giờ chắc sẽ gắn đôi với Yasuo này. Yasuo 3 sao nó rất là khỏe này, khống chế rất là nhiều. Trong hàng chờ là thấy vẫn còn một hai cái, chắc là đã dùng rồi mọi người. Hiện tại là mình cái client này của bên eSports World Cup á, nó có một cái lỗi nhỏ nhỏ. Hôm qua mình coi giờ là có một số đồ mà đã dùng rồi nhưng mà nó vẫn chưa xóa đi ở trên cái client, ra là hơi khó trong khả năng phán đoán. Đây, NCC1 cũng họ vậy là chưa xài 3 sao luôn. Khó rồi, không lên được Udia 3 sao. Đồ này Sosa mình tính là mạnh hơn nha, mình tính ra là Sosa mạnh hơn, vừa cả đồ cả ấy đều mạnh hơn. Hay mà gặp Sabi. Bên này thì chúng ta là NCC1 sẽ gặp Tian. Chắc là mình nghĩ là NCC1 sẽ thắng. Soe sang vòng quanh lành vẫn đang rất khỏe. Ôi chết rồi, Soe sang mất thêm mạng nữa. Sabi chấp nhận. 1.1B mà quanh quanh bị yếu đi hả mọi người? Và đánh NCC1 top 8 rồi, rất căng nha mọi người. Đội hình đang rất, tình hình đang rất là căng cho team Vitus Pro. Rất có khả năng là chúng ta sẽ phải bị thua trận đầu tiên. Maris mãi vẫn chưa lên được mèo 2, bị team Mouse cầm mèo và mãi chưa lên được mèo 2 mọi người ạ. Tiếp tục quân mình gặp quân ta. Maris máu như này khả năng là đi luôn. Đi luôn rồi, Maris đi luôn rồi. Maris đi luôn. Ôi top 7 top 8 cho Vitus Pro rồi. Bây giờ thì Kian với cả Hilo bắt buộc phải top 1 top 2 nha mọi người. Đè nặng lên hai người còn lại của Kian thì cũng vừa thua một trận, mất chuỗi thắng rồi. Solo gây sang 2 máu vậy thôi nhưng thực tế là 2 mạng nha mọi người. Họ cầm cái lõi 9 mạng. Ôi trận này khó rồi. Mình nghĩ điểm nhấn là một là việc cầm mèo, và điểm thứ hai nữa là đội chơi phù thủy lại có một con Goen 2 sao quá sơ. Savi gặp Milo, hy vọng Milo thắng. Biết con Milo thắng rồi không đây? Có vẻ là thắng được nha mọi người, thắng được rồi. Ôi đánh rất tốt thời điểm ban đầu nhưng mà khi mà Goen kích được cái áo choàng với cả Cleante khô máu xong thì mạng thứ hai của Cleante thì Milo đã thua. Ôi vậy là trận đấu này là Mouse đã thắng rồi nha mọi người. Ba người top 7 8 9 rồi, M6 7 8 rồi thì Mouse thắng chắc rồi nha mọi người. Kể cả Kian top 1 đi chăng nữa thì Mouse vẫn thắng nha. Ôi rất là tiếc, đây bắt đầu nụ cười của các tuyển thủ Mouse. Rất là game 1 này họ đánh một chiến thuật ổn, mình nghĩ là ổn, và có một chút may mắn nữa khi mà tất cả các con co đều lên được level cần thiết là 2 sao và 3 sao trước so với team Vitus Pro thì không có gì, câu chuyện không gì khó cả. Thắng là thắng thôi. Số lời sang vẫn còn một mạng kèm thêm quân sư. Vòng đi chợ vừa rồi là vòng đi chợ nhặt thêm được Thôi lời sang chọn cho mình một cái áo choàng ánh sáng. sau khi mà hồi lại thì tốc độ anh của anh ta sẽ rất là nhanh. Rochester cũng Kian tiếp tục thắng này. Quá trận rồi, trận đấu mà Mao đánh rất là hay và cả may nữa, nhưng mà phải hay thì mới may được nha mọi người. Tất nhiên là vẫn có những trường hợp mà may sẽ hơn cả hay, ít là trận đấu này thì rõ ràng là họ chơi một chiến thuật ổn, rồi sau đó là những con co chủ lực như con Gwen 2 sao ngay từ từ vòng cuối 3 chấm đầu 4 chấm, và lúc đây mới chỉ có level 8. Đây là mình đã từ những cái lõi kim cương này nó sẽ thay đổi rất nhiều cục diện trận đấu này. Web Jungle thì mình thôi, nhiệm vụ Web Jungle là xong rồi, giữ máu, xe máu, tất cả mọi thứ, reroll này, nó giữ tướng, tất cả xong rồi. Hồi một tiếp tục thắng thôi. Tiếp tục thắng đến từ kia rất tốt, cố gắng nếu mà được một trận top 1 đội hình này thì không nghĩ là top được 1, nếu mà tiếp được một trận top 1 là tốt nhất để lấy cái tinh thần cho trận đấu tiếp theo. Vòng đánh quái thì sẽ chọn đồ gì đây, tứ đồ gì đây, thêm một đồ thủ nữa dành cho Sapa, đẩy lên level 9 luôn, kẹp thêm một con phết vào. Thì tuyết dược phết ở cái mùa này thì mỗi lần vòng nó sẽ cho các bạn một chút xíu tiền hoặc là một cái đổi nha mọi người, đổi nói chung là nhiều cái vấn đề. Tiền này thì chắc cũng không hy vọng gì, Akali 3 sao rồi, tiền như này đẩy lên đang tròn form bài rồi. Thực ra là kể cả level 8 như vậy là cũng tròn form bài rồi. Sau đánh với Solesa và một mạng thôi mà rất khỏe phải gọi là cực kỳ khỏe. Akali đứng yên như trời trồng. Ui, xong thắng được Solesa rồi, xử lý được Blank Blank thì xong rồi, loại người đầu tiên. Tiếp tục một chuỗi thắng 4 của Kia. Lee Sin 2 sao luôn mọi người. Nhét thêm chút thêm. Lee Sin 2 sao. Tuần này thì hạng mấy thì cũng vẫn thua thôi mọi người. TRम्रो các bạn có thể hiện thấy bảng là bên hiển thị là đó là họ hiển thị luôn là thắng thua đấy. Thực ra đấy là cái khá là hay. Thực ra là bên team của các anh Ả Rập này là mình thấy cái ấy đó, họ không biết là có được tư vấn từ xong luôn kia ăn kia thua, họ có được tư vấn từ Riot không, nhưng mà cái client của họ ở trong cái game TFT này rất là ổn này mọi người. Ló lờ thì hôm bữa LOL thì mình nghĩ là cái client của mid season hay hơn. Kian top 3 luôn, Red Jungle top 4. Có lẽ là trận cuối cùng luôn rồi, Savi và Loster. Team này thì mình chưa tìm hiểu là đến từ đâu. Nhưng mà với những cái tên như này thì khả năng là đến từ châu Âu, mặt mũi như này nữa thì chắc là đến từ châu Âu rồi. Hay Nam Mỹ nhỉ? Nghĩ khả năng là Savi thắng thôi. Vì phù thủy của họ của em rất là mạnh nha mọi người. nào chịu không nổi nhiệt rồi. Tanh cũng không chịu nổi nhiệt. Ok, end game. Xavi là top 1. Team top 1 và Team thắng luôn 1-0. Cảm ơn mọi người. Chúng ta sẽ cùng đợi một chút để đến với trận thi đấu tiếp theo nha. Đây là thế xách vali về nước rồi đấy mọi người. Vali chân tay không biết là có đánh bay tới nóc như là gang của bên LL không. Thế xách hành lý rồi đây. Thật ra là ở bộ môn này thì cái khả năng và trình độ Việt Nam là nó vẫn mới thôi mọi người. Nó là team đây là tham gia là mới hết. Và nó đội tuyển mới tập luyện với nhau rồi sau đó là xin phép bên cái đội như này được đi là cũng phải xin phép đi đấy nha mọi người. Đăng ký là một chuyện rồi, xin phép phải thông qua cái mình không nhớ là cái cục, không biết là cục hay là của bên game thể thao điện tử là có nha, phải xin phép đầy đủ mới được đi đấy, không phải là đơn giản đâu. Thì đây đội hình cũng mới form lại và mới tập luyện với nhau, nên là việc mà khi mà nếu mà thật ra trong trận thắng đâu, thật ra là khi mà thắng trận đầu tiên ở với Falcon là đã là một thành tích khá là ok rồi với mình là vậy, nên là mình còn nghĩ là có khi là thua hết cơ, không thắng được trận nào cơ. Thì đấy, hôm trước là thắng Falcon 2-1, rồi sau đó là trận hôm qua thì chúng ta thua 1-2 với Aggressive. Hôm nay thì hiện tại đang thua 1-0, hy vọng là chúng ta ít nhất được có được một trận thắng, và nếu không được tất nhiên là hy vọng tốt nhất là được thắng được tận 2 trận cơ. Nhưng mà chúng ta phải thừa nhận là chúng ta vẫn là còn non trẻ trong ở bộ môn này. Thì quan trọng nhất là khi mà đi thế này thì những cái mình hy vọng nữa ở Việt Nam là với những cái giải như này, với khi mọi người coi những trận như này ấy, thì Việt Nam sẽ tăng thêm các cái giải đấu đội, chứ không còn thuần đấu đơn như hiện tại. Mình muốn là bởi vì tất nhiên là cái đội mà muốn đấu đội phải cho họ cái khả năng cọ sát, và tất nhiên là cọ sát trong nước là dễ nhất, cọ sát nước ngoài thì cũng ok thôi, vì game này thì cái ping của nó không phải là vấn đề quá lớn, nhưng mà nếu mà được cọ sát nhiều đội trong nước thì hay hơn. Ok, mình sẽ tạm dừng stream một chút ha.
Of Mouse, and that's also the player that we highlighted coming into this, Clement, where we're saying, yeah, this guy has a great career, he's very much known, he's done a lot of things individually. So the question was whether or not that was going to go well with the rest of the team, because it is a little bit more of a different approach when you're looking at the 4v4 rather than a free-for-all. And I feel like the fact that he can remain consistent in every single game that we've seen so far speaks volumes to his leadership skills as well.
The real test, I think, for this squad is can they do the same thing if they're forced to play into different roles? So far in this tournament, they've kind of stuck in their own lanes completely, and it hasn't bothered them. But what happens if Solo has to be the fast 8 AP? Can they still run the same strategy? That's going to be the test.
I think it maybe comes down to them seeing flexibility being less important than mastery, where if they have such an edge on specific comps and they know all the in and outs of when to roll, what units to hold, they're not your key units on your comp, it matters more than being more flexible on your roll down, being more flexible on your augment selection. And I think it showed in this game. One thing to mention also is the comparison between the GP players, with Solo playing from 9 lives, in theory having a much higher cap, where NCC1 hit very early thanks to Patriotic Ticket and the 2 duplicators he got on the Krugs. But in the end, his cap was much lower. He started bleeding out once he started facing all the fast 8 players who did end up hitting, and he went 8th in the end. So we'll see the bounce back in the game plan from a VP in this game too.
Yeah, I would like actually to touch upon that, so I'm happy that you bring that up when it comes to VP and their game plan moving forward, because this was such a blowout game. The things that didn't obviously go their way. So moving forward, what are we expecting from VP?
You know, I would hope my Vietnamese boys, they can find their footing a little bit more early. When you're contesting against Maus that has so far have only won blown out games, then you want to push them off their comfort zone. You want to gamble that Salvi and Lusher are not going to hit like this every time on their level 8. So maybe get early tempo, make sure they're low HP onto level 8, and then deal damage there.
And ideally, I would say if Salvi and Lusher are playing for the same game plan, if you pressure them enough in stage 3 and they're entering stage 4 on 2 lives and they miss, they feel so much more pressure. Salvi, he entered with around, I think, 40 HP, but Lusher was very healthy. Even if he missed, he had some rounds to bounce back and to get lives from his teammates and still find success. So we saw it a bit from Fnatic yesterday where they had this like triple AD flex stage 3 where they were just tempoing so hard. I think maybe VP has to take a page out of their book, especially to counter the game plan from Mouse.
Didn't necessarily work for Fnatic, so you would hope that
Just for stage 3.
You know, so you would hope that it would work for VP today because again, this is their backs against the wall, and they are one game away from elimination, which brings implications to their standings on TFT, but also to the club championship points. So there is a little bit of pressure on this roster, if I do say so myself. Whereas on the Mouse side of things, there is no pressure when it comes to club championship points, considering how the rest of the organization, the games that they have been competing in. So that combined with the fact that they had the key yesterday, do we just want to see them replicate what they've done now, or could that also be their biggest weakness?
If it's working, don't change it. Talking about pressure though, I have to look at someone like NCC1 and Lusher. The 8th place here, he's the only player who hasn't made it to attack round, for example. I want to see if he can bounce back mentally and maybe lead his team to success in this game too.
Well, that is game 2 that needs to be coming up next. But first, we're going to have a break to see whether or not VP will have some skin left in this game. They are in for the club championship points. They are in for the TFT placement, in for playoffs as well. We'll be ashamed to see them go out early without a fight. But whether or not they'll be able to put that up against a team like Mouse, we'll find out shortly.
Yeah, our journey to EWC was pretty rough. Open qualifier went well. Close qualifier we lost to AG.
Look at the close up last few moments, and he drops in. TRಯಾವು자 eliminated.
We lost a low bracket when we went to the last chance qualifier. I think the last chance qualifier we were the best team. We also placed first place.
Wow, this is a really tough situation.
Before that we took 1 week full prep. We played much differently than compared to the close qualifier. In the last chance qualifier we finally figured out our preferred playstyle, and I think we executed it pretty well.
The Timbers comes out. Oh no, he actually gets there. A critical win for Mouse.
Mouse are heavyweights coming in from the EMEA scene. Mouse are the most decorated EMEA team. They have 2 players in the Pro Tour. They have multiple TAC round players as well. And I think they should carry the highest expectations for the region. I think Mouse is likely going to be a quarterfinalist team. And if they move up a little bit, I wouldn't be too surprised, but they would need to prove themselves.
This is what we thought was going to happen.
We're playing for Mouse, and Mouse has been really great. They treated us they fulfilled every wish we had so far, and they're supporting us a lot. And we're very proud to represent Mouse as the only German team here at EWC for 4v4. We feel very grateful to get this chance, and we will try our best to make Mouse and the German viewers and players proud.
Get out. I feel it here inside of me. And I won't stop, no. I just can't waste time talking. Gotta save my soul. Gotta get out of here. Yeah, it's the last thing I do. Got to get through to you. Got to get out. Come on, got to get out. Gotta get out of here. Got to see what's out there for me. I'm just a nomad. Come on. And where I go's where I be. Come on. I can't help but follow my own beat.
Welcome back, one and all. Game 2 is ready to begin. The players refresh themselves between those two games. And honestly, Stuart, coming into the second game, of course, Mao's going to be absolutely thrilled with how that first one went. They get a chance to have a brief word with them between games. They certainly felt, as a lot of teams do, relieved and happy. Salvi saying, from that first augment coming in, really the game all played to Mao's preferred style.
Yeah, when you have one of the best augments that you can pick up as well for players that are so comfortable on a line, like going for fast 8 into this AP, into these common AP compositions that we've been seeing a lot. As soon as you see them at the start, you feel very comfortable. You just need to make sure you play your own game correctly. You play it to the level of standard that you want to be. But I think, as you mentioned, Counterfeit, for this game, hopefully it's not going to be as crazy as the first one with the full prismatic, because obviously with the prismatics it can be very wild with how much extra power that you can get onto these boards. But I think Virtus.pro has what it takes to come back. Of course, this is a team that has still done a lot to be able to get here. They've beaten some of the best teams in APAC to be able to get here as well. Players like Maris performing very strong overall at Tacticians Crowns before, and being able to be a winner in a Tacticians Cup. So these are players that are like I said before, no slouches, and they're going to do what it takes to try and stay in this competition.
Yeah, I think the big thing it felt like from the previous game, there were so many resources flying around, particularly, of course, thanks to the augments coming in. It just gave the entire team of Mao's so many strategic options. And we could really see clearly from the play, their strategic playbook is huge. And they were basically able to access everything they wanted. I think the biggest thing that stands out to me, what you pointed out in game number 1, was the denial. They were able to just deny wholesale across the board and reduce the overall power level of Virtus.pro dramatically for most of the game.
Yeah, I think analysts has covered it quite well. I think the way the Virtus.pro are going to win this next game or win this series is try and put Mao's out of their comfort zone. Try and maybe play more aggressively early on. Try and put players like Lusher and Salvi on the back foot. Make them lose a lot of HP early on, which they didn't really in this game. They were able to comfortably stay healthy enough thanks to upward mobility, giving you more HP, but also have some extra free roll downs as well. So I think coming into that, if Virtus.pro play more aggressively, they tried to with the GP. They were the first team that hit the GP, but as for the rest of the board, they were just losing way too much HP.
Speaking of HP, of course, the extra wrinkle in the whole thing, ZeLoGaSign taking 9 lives, means he's at least going to last 9 rounds in the entire game. That entire setup there kind of gives you that resilience as a player because, of course, as you take those lives lost, you're getting more resources in, so it's becoming harder to take the future lives off of you. So you've given yourself a slot in the game where pretty much you're unkillable. You'll either be ahead on lives or you'll be ahead on resources.
High risk, high reward is the name of the game for Solo. The player that has been one of the best, one of the most consistent, I should say, players in EMEA, did incredibly well over the last few sets and also been to a few Tacticians Crowns, made the top 10 in the previous Tactician Crown for Cyber City.
Yeah, that was hugely meaningful for ZeLoGaSign. He was a player who was notorious for being an incredible ladder player, but struggling to translate that into tournament performance. Wet Jungler was a similar player who got there ahead of him, of course, got his 2nd place at the Crown, and got his attention. But Solo is definitely coming into the spotlight. But let's shift that spotlight across to Virtus.pro because there were things to like about that previous game as well, even if they didn't get the win. We did see some good boards. Kian, of course, that all-out board, even if it was mostly denied for a while, was still set up to be really scary.
I think the all-out board is something that definitely a lot of APAC players and China players are prioritizing a lot more than EMEA and the Americas. We don't really get to see a lot of EMEA players or America's players actually going for the all-out Cassante. Maybe they're not comfortable on the line. Maybe they don't want to risk it on that line, because there is a lot of flexibility with that comp. You know, you can play into protectors, you can play the Supreme Cells version with Akali. There's so many different variations of the comp, and I think you need a very high level to understand what is your strongest board at certain times. So I haven't seen too much from EMEA. You know, maybe it's something that they will bring out over the course of this tournament, but definitely a comp that is prioritized a lot more over in China and APAC.
I suppose we did see to an extent what it would take to push Gangplank somewhat out of the conversation, just because there were so many resources in there. Players were able to locate themselves in the AP lines, you know, step above that projected power level, even the Gangplank 3s, and have them be, you know, a relatively small factor in how the game played out.
It's one of the compositions as well that you can move from Gangplank. I mean, Cassante doesn't really work well with these, you know, attack speed items. I think he much prefers things like the Infinity Edge and the Guard Breaker. But if you use these items and just slam it on a GP early on, you can tempo with GP, play into the Cassante all out, or try and play into Luchadors as well, try and play into more Volibear style. We'll have to see what unfolds in this game. Number 2 is Mouse, just to let you all know, is currently 1-0 up in this series.
And Stuart, it couldn't be more perfect. We go from Prismatic.
Chào mừng các bạn quay trở lại với kênh Người Đức Trung. Và đây là luồng livestream cùng xem với em bé Cùng. Hiện tại chúng ta đang coi giải ESPORTS World Cup đấu trường chân lý 2025 diễn ra tại Trung Đông, Qatar. Trận này có một chút đặc biệt, đó là trận thứ hai, game 2 của Virtus Pro và Mouse, trong đó Virtus Pro là đội tuyển đến từ Việt Nam này mọi người. Do đầu game hiện tại chưa có gì nên mình cập nhật qua một chút về cái thể thức đấu đội. Thể thức đấu đội là 4v4. Đội hình của Virtus Pro có Maris, Kian, NCC1 và Milo. Đội hình của Mouse có Sorogesan, Roester, Selvi và West Jungler. Đội nào có điểm cao hơn trong thể thức BO3 thì thắng. Tức là thắng 2 trận trên 3 trận là thắng nhé. Điểm cao hơn là thắng. Trong trường hợp điểm hai đội bằng nhau thì đội nào đứng top 1 sẽ là người chiến thắng. Phiên bản chúng ta đang coi giải đây là phiên bản 15.1B. Hiện tại phiên bản của Việt Nam đã là 115.2 vừa mới cập nhật sáng nay. Trên 1 thì đội tuyển Mouse đã có một trận tiến rất là hay khi mà có được form phù thủy với Quen và các 2 sao sớm. Thứ hai nữa là có Ganh 3 sao thì họ đã có chiến thắng áp trước đội tuyển Virtus Pro của chúng ta. Virtus Pro kết thúc trận đấu ở các vị trí là 3 và 6, 7, 8. Lõi Maris lấy một lõi tạo tác này mọi người. Kian lấy một lõi sao tướng 1 sao và tướng 1 tiền 2 sao. Chúng ta đã có Milo đang có lẽ là mình đội hình như này thì có thể theo một con theo Malphite 2 sao có thể một đội hình reroll cũng được nha. Nhưng mà Maris cũng đang reroll này. Chắc là sẽ nhường cho Madrid reroll chiến hạm thôi. Thì về cái thể thức đấu đội này thì nó sẽ khác với đấu đơn nhiều nha mọi người. Nó cần sự phối hợp rất là ăn ý, con tim từ các thành viên trong đội. Mỗi người một công việc, ví dụ như là chủ lực này, hay là bạn chơi reroll, rồi bạn cần phải giữ những con tướng nào của đối phương. Hiện tại ví dụ như Rochester này, bài rất đen, đã có 2 con Mundo và 4 con Gna rồi, khả năng cao là cũng sẽ reroll bắn tỉa dũng sĩ. Co chính sẽ là The Hin và Mundo. Thì ok, cũng có một con Gna 2 sao rồi. Gặp TRಯಾವು자 con Gna 2 sao, 2 con tướng dũng sĩ rồi, ba con tướng 2 sĩ dũng sĩ và một con The Hin, 2 con The Hin rồi. Khả năng là Kian cũng sẽ reroll The Hin Mundo rồi. Aris thì đang có một form biết là quyết định chơi gì đây. Thì này mình cũng chưa hình dung là Maris sẽ chơi gì. Solo Kesa một con form dũng sĩ. Đại cơ giáp, có lẽ là có thể là chơi đại cơ giáp phù thủy ha. Có bán con chó đi vẫn cho vào sân. Đang suy nghĩ bán lấy tiền à? Khả năng là bán để lấy lợi tức rồi. Rồi đúng rồi. Bài nào NCC1 có anh Blank luôn rồi. Có anh Blank. Có bị tranh bài không? Chưa có, hiện tại chưa có ai tranh bài của NCC1. Madrid đổi đồ. Vậy là Madrid sẽ không chơi reroll chiến hạm. Madrid đổi đồ rồi. Đến vòng đi chợ. Chúng ta có 2 người vẫn còn đầy máu nên là lượng lượt cuối cùng Tian và như Maris đúng không? Maris có 1 rồi đồ cho cún hồng. Cuối cùng là sẽ đánh cái gì đấy? Có hiểu quá. Sĩ hả? Hay là anh Clank? Anh Clank thì phải có đồ ấy, phải có cái áo choàng ám ảnh. Hy vọng là Madrid với Kian không gặp nhau sớm để tiếp tục bốc lên ngọn lửa cho đội tuyển team Việt Nam. Ui, gặp nhau luôn kìa, bực mình chưa? Khó chịu chưa? Kian có ấy rồi. Rất là khó chịu, bực mình thật sự. Tối ưu đồ cún hồng cho cún hồng luôn để Madrid sẽ là người chiến thắng. Tiếp tục thắp lên ngọn lửa cho team Việt Nam. West Younger cũng có ngọn lửa. Mỗi team là có một ngọn lửa. Nếu mà gặp nhau luôn phút này thì cũng ok này. Xui quá, Kian với cả ấy mà không gặp nhau là ổn rồi. Kian có rời in 2 sao này. Đang cầm sẵn 2 con chó và một con ganh ganh, còn 2 con cún hồng, bán một con. Chắc là bán luôn con cún hồng còn lại thôi. À không, vẫn giữ một con cún hồng. NCC1 có Kata 2 đổi bài luôn. West Younger gặp Luster. Có nên giữ máu, đổi máu đi chứ hả? Tắt lửa này mọi người. Sao lại không đổi máu? Bắn trắng rồi. Bài mạnh hơn rất nhiều đến từ West Younger. Một lõi nâng cấp tinh linh cho Edzu đang khá là mạnh giai đoạn đầu game nha mọi người. Tiếp tục cả 2 ngọn lửa luôn, Madrid cũng tiếp tục chiến thắng. Roger lên được Gna 3 sao luôn rồi, rất khỏe. Có reroll rất ổn ở level 4, vẫn còn 34 tiền, rất là may nha. Quyết định của anh ta sẽ là đánh đội hình như nào đây? Rusher là người đầu tiên có tướng 3 sao ở trong trận đấu này. Madrid vẫn giữ form bài cũ, có 50 tiền rồi, có lời tức rồi. Madrid gặp luôn White Jungle. Tối ưu đồ để hy vọng tắt được chuỗi lửa của đối phương, nhưng mà mình nghĩ là khó nha. Con Ezreal này mạnh quá. Cả con Raka nó rất trâu, vẫn chưa đục qua được hạt tanh của White Jungle. Rồi xong, trận đấu là Madrid tắt lửa, White Jungle tiếp tục ngọn lửa chuỗi tháng thứ 6. Cái nâng cấp mà tinh linh này khá là hay nha mọi người. Với những tướng mà ít mana ấy, thì khi mà mỗi lần dùng được chiêu ấy là có thêm một con bướm bay để bắn đam phép, khá là ổn nhé. Kian tiếp, Kian chọn một lõi tạo tác, không biết chọn tạo tác nào đây. Có vẻ như là Kian quyết định là reroll giờ heal Mundo rồi mọi người. Lắp luôn cho Mundo cái tạo tác, lắp luôn cả tích là hạn banh banh 2 sao rồi, đang giữ một con 2 sao. Giờ in 2 sao, 2 con trên hàng chờ. Cái na thì chắc khó đó, không chịu thì để thêm cái na nữa. Gặp White Jungle hơi khó hả? Hàng tăng của White Jungle trâu quá. Mundo vẫn chưa mới có 1 sao. Mình nghĩ là tiếp tục là một chuỗi thắng nữa dành cho White Jungle rồi. Hay mà là Mundo 2 sao thì còn may ra có cửa chứ. Chắc cố gắng là thêm 1-2 con nữa hả? 1 con nữa. Có thể là dừng luôn chuỗi thắng. Ui, giờ hin bắn đau quá. Chỉ là một con Mundo 1 sao thôi nhưng rất khỏe nha mọi người. Lắp bàn tay Seeker. Sole cây sang đã có banh banh 2 sao. Đồ đẹp, đồ chuẩn. Nhưng mà hiện tại là bên của Kian đang cầm một con 2 sao rồi nha, nên là hy vọng là đây. Milo quyết định chơi một bài reroll chiến hạm. Level 5 rồi. Reroll chiến hạm thì điểm này có hợp lý không? Kéo một con sen ra kích cho con Gna vào kích bắn tỉa. Rồi, chắc là Kian game này thì Kian thắng đấy. Mundo đã 2 sao. Rất khỏe. Trâu như điên vậy. Hồi máu cực nhiều. Thêm lõi đồ vật nữa. Không khác gì 2 mạng. Milo hơi đuối nhá. Người roll mà hơi ít máu. Mà roll ra mình thấy là có vẻ không đẹp lắm. Roll ra không được như ý lắm. Okay. Đây là thời điểm mà mọi người chế độ đánh đội này là từng cái vòng đi chợ một nó rất là quan trọng nha mọi người. Bởi vì Nhiệm vụ đôi khi không phải là lấy được cái thứ mình muốn, nhiệm vụ đôi khi là phải phá được cái đồ của đối phương, đặc biệt là những người đứng ở cuối. Nhưng mà hai người đứng đầu tiên, hai người đứng cuối cùng của NCC1 sắp có cơ sở tên 2 sao, hy vọng lên được 2 sao sớm. Đam ui được luôn, nét vô luôn, hợp lý luôn. Học viện 5 học viện rồi mọi người, hy vọng được con kata. Kata là có 6 con rồi, roll không đẹp lắm, roll mà có 15 tiền thôi. Kata đồ ổn nha mọi người, hy vọng chạm vào con lanh lanh sớm. Rồi ok, xong win solo game sang. Chiến thắng solo gây sang. Người lồi yếu máu qua, còn có 38 máu thôi. Sao mà reroll được đây Milo ơi, roll không ra bài. Chưa được một con nào 3 sao nên roll không được một con 3 sao chiến hạm sớm, roll rất là lỗ nha mọi người. Nếu mà ra được một con chiến hạm 3 sao sớm thì khi mà bạn roll á, bạn sẽ được cộng 1 điểm kinh nghiệm. Thì về đến tầm giữa game á, bạn vẫn có thể lại được level 7. Thì nó sẽ ổn hơn rất nhiều, nhưng mà roll không ra rồi. Ôi roll không ra. Trên hàng chờ đồ thì như có tận 2 cái máy nói công nghệ sao chép nó nhỏ. Trời ơi, thiếu mất một con Manfire nữa. Không, trận này chắc là thua rồi. Đây là thua bao nhiêu chết thôi. Hôm qua thì mình thấy có một game mà họ chơi reroll chiến hạm nhưng mà không lắp đồ cho chiến hạm, tới chiến hạm mà lắp đồ cho Zana, khá là khỏe. Nói chung là đánh được đến hết giữa game. Giết được mạng lanh rồi, hay quá, tốt quá. Lanh cố chịu thêm một chút nữa là rất là khỏe nè. Manfire cố chịu thêm một chút nữa, chúng ta sẽ chiến thắng đấy. Cắt chiêu trước, thắng được solo gây sang. Lanh chưa ra thêm một con nào nữa. Solo sang thì đang Kian công đến 5 con lanh ở trên bài à. Trời ơi, Kian cầm đến 5 con lanh à. Thì đến đâu ra lanh cho solo gây sang nữa. Nhưng mà Mundo với cả giới hin thì lại không ra nhiều lắm. Rất là củ chuối. Mundo vẫn 2 sao, mới có 4 con Mundo và 6 con giới hin thôi, không đến nỗi tệ. Nhưng mà Kian ngọn lửa 4, Rochester lửa 5. Marit có một con Crescente từ sớm, đổi đồ sang và đánh có luôn cả lõi khô máu. Crescente Akali kẹp thêm Crescente 2 luôn, hợp lý quá, hay quá. Akali 2 luôn. Crescente 2 Akali 2 rất sớm. 4.1. Roll rất đẹp. Dilo bánh đi cái xả hết tiền và đã roll được 2 con chiến hạm 3 sao rồi. Nhưng mà pha này thì chắc là khả năng là khó thắng thôi. Pha không chịu nổi đâu. Với lại quan trọng nhất là hàng sau bay máu hết rồi. Lại còn củ chuối nữa. Kian nhầm. Madrid lại cầm TRspods của Milo. Rất oai bom. Mục đích kẹp TRspods là để nó tặng quà mỗi vòng nhé. Đây, Kian khỏe điên, cầm thêm 2 con, rất nhiều tiền, và cầm thêm tận 2 con cạc ma nữa. Không biết cầm cạc ma của đội nhà nào đây, nhà nào đang chơi. Ui, Madrid cầm luôn con ganh lanh ở đây rồi. On. Tôi ưu đồ luôn cho Akeli đến từ NCC1. 3 con chiến hạm 3 sao rồi, chỉ cần một con sen nữa là xong bộ chiến hạm full 4 3 sao rồi. Đã dùng hết máy sao chép nhân bản rồi nha mọi người. Thì như mình đấu giải thì mình qua giải thì mình thấy là chủ yếu là chơi chiến hạm á, mọi người sẽ ở giải á, mọi người sẽ dồn đồ cho 2 con 1 sao là ui solo game sang là bằng cách nào đó vẫn lên được canh quanh 3 sao à, trời ơi. Ui, tiếc quá, vẫn lên được 3 sao. Vào đấy các bạn thấy đấy là bán ngay luôn cả canh quanh rồi, các team là bán canh quanh. Ui, solo sang lên được ngay 3 sao kìa, trời ơi. Nhưng mà hết tiền rồi nhá mọi người, hơi khó để, nhưng mà bây giờ chuỗi thắng trở lại. Cạc ma, 1 con cạc ma chắc bán đi lấy con Savan thôi. Cạc ma đã cầm cạc ma của Savi. Rồi chờ lửa 7 rồi, chuỗi tháng 7 rồi. Milo gặp Savi giờ này thì top 8 rồi. Ôi, tình hình không khả quan lắm cho team Vitus Pro. Kịp không? Kịp rồi, thoát rồi. Hên quá. Kama mà có thêm một chút đam nữa thì chắc là xong rồi. Bài Rochester thắng Kian. Milo phá bài của Rochester đi. Xavi với Milo. Lấy luôn thánh ra vẻ. Lione. Kian là đã lên được rồi, hin 3 sao rồi này, hay quá. Nhưng mà Mundo thì chắc hơi khó để 2 sao, 3 sao. West Jungle chơi một đội hình vệ binh tinh tú à? Tiếp tục là một đội vệ binh tinh tú. Kẹp đã có con mèo. Mèo 1. Chắc đổi lõi cho Yugi luôn. Bài phi thường học viện. Ôi, lên được luôn cả phi thường học viện vệ binh tinh tú, lên được luôn cả Leona 2 sao rồi. Đắp lõi, đắp đồ cho Leona. Đồ đam đắp lại, đồ ăn tất nhiên đắp cho mèo. Lõi nâng cấp cho mèo rồi. Ôi, nhưng mà không, mình nghĩ là không đánh lại Kian đâu. Cực kỳ khỏe đến từ Mundo ạ. Ôi, Shin bắn đau điên. Rochester đã mất chuỗi tháng 8. Rochester thua ai? Thua Savi. Sắp lên được Mundo 3 sao rồi. Cố lên nào, Mundo 3 sao sẽ mạnh lắm nhá. À, vậy là Kian đã đổi lại cái đồ tạo tác nha mọi người. Đổi sang đồ cho giờ hin. Okay. Milo đã hoàn thành bài chiến hạm nhưng mà chỉ còn có đúng 1 máu thôi. Gặp luôn quách rừng G. Ui mèo 2 luôn rồi. Mèo 2 luôn rồi. Đánh sao đây? Thiếu đam quá. Thiếu đam quá, không đục được hàng canh của rừng G. Rồi, Philo top 8 rồi mọi người ơi. Khó quá. Solo kia sao mà đang hồi lại nha mọi người. Mà có 3 sao ấy. Đang hồi lại với con Van Blank 3 sao. Câu chuyện là không chỉ là giữ bài ấy đâu mọi người, mà nên là phải có người đánh Van Blank nữa, để vừa có người giữ bài vừa có người đánh Van Blank nữa. Đổi đồ cho Van Blank được. À không, không phải đổi đâu, thả đồ ra để ví dụ như gặp đội mình thì sẽ là đổi đồ. NCC1 đã có một con Kata 3 sao, một con mèo 1 sao. Kian đang cầm 2 con cặp ma. Kian thua. Xe máu rất tốt từ các tuyển thủ Việt Nam. Tôi sẽ chờ thua West Jungler. Phải đẩy được solo game sang với Savi xuống top 7 nha mọi người. Nào bạn ơi. Các tuyển thủ Việt Nam có vẻ là có cách khác, xếp khác với cả các tuyển thủ của thế giới về khi mà đánh con Kata này nha mọi người. Như những ngày trước mình coi đánh Kata thì các đội khác họ hay xếp theo kiểu là tách ra hai bên, để cho mục tiêu là để cho Kata lòn xuống hàng sau nhanh nhất có thể. Đây là xếp kiểu xếp này thì không biết là hiện tại thì vẫn đang hiệu quả, mình nghĩ là hiệu quả, ổn quá. Xong rồi, Kata giữ rất nhanh, xử rất nhanh đội hình, lòn xuống sau được không? Tôi nó sẽ chờ tiếp tục thua level 9 rồi. Kian đấu với solo gây sang thắng không? Ui, Mundo 3 sao rồi, thắng được không? Thắng đi Mundo ơi. Thắng. Ui, ôi máu rất nhiều, hay quá. Solo gây sang thua rồi. Mundo khỏe điên, Madrid chuỗi tháng 7, NCT1 chuỗi tháng 4, Kian cũng khỏe. Đẩy hiện tại là đang tình thế rất là tốt cho đội tuyển Việt Nam nha. Đẩy cả 4 người của team Mouse ở dưới. Thật ra là mình nghĩ là con Plank này mà dùng vô cực nó không tối ưu lắm á mọi người. Thì tất nhiên là đồ nó chỉ có ra vậy thôi thì phải chấp nhận thôi, nhưng mà ý là cảm giác là Plank còn dùng vô cực không tối ưu. Một chút hồi máu hoặc là ấy thì sẽ hay hơn, đa dụng hơn thì nó hay hơn. Bởi vì thực ra là việc Plank đã đam rất là to rồi. Solo gây sang và anh Plank 3 thua top 7. Trời ơi, đáng ra Sâm Vi phải chia máu pha đó chứ ta. nhầm đây, West Junger phải chia máu phải đó chứ là tội sao lại mình nghĩ là một pha côn hơi dở nhé. Rồi vẫn đang Huề nha mọi người, top 7 top 8 Huề, ok. Lợi thế một chút dành cho team Fighters Pro. Kian khỏe điên. Ui, Sabi vẫn lên được cặp 32 và đã có cả Gwen rồi. Có củ chuối lên Gwen 2 sao nhá. Hết tiền rồi, hết tiền rồi, nhưng mà lên Gwen chắc Kian nhả cặp 3 ra rồi anh bạn ơi. Mình nghĩ giảm tanh của phép mỏng. NCC1 đổi không phải đổi, không đổi cách xếp. Thế Kian với NCC1 chia máu sao đây? NCC1 đang nhiều máu hơn thì mình nghĩ là ôi hơi nặng rồi, Kian sẽ khá là ít máu nhé. Sanvi với cả West Junger hả? Sanvi gặp Marit vừa đủ thắng. Có khả năng là chắc khả năng là round sau là cả Kian với Sanvi là đi luôn. Thì coi như là cũng bằng cũng cân. Hy vọng là nếu mà Kian đi thì cũng ở trên một xíu. Trên top Savi đứng là top 5 là đẹp. Nhưng mà West Junger cũng chỉ còn có 15 máu thôi mọi người, là cũng có thể đi luôn trong pha này. Rồi Kian gặp Savi luôn, xử lý luôn. Số phận vào tay nhau luôn. Đam to. Ui. Ui cà mà. Rồi Savi thắng Kian top 6 nha mọi người. West Junger đi luôn. West Junger đi luôn với vị trí là top 5. Một chút lợi thế dành cho team. Chưa hết là phải đẩy Savi xuống top 4 cái đã này. Marit mà top 3 chắc khả năng cũng thua. NCC1 rất nhiều tiền, còn 50 tiền ở level 8. Rochester kẹp được cả Varus và cả là ui gặp Savi luôn, khả năng là chắc là tiến Savi luôn chứ hả? Tuy tập fan 2 sao. Thực ra là kể cả không tiện, nếu mà ấy thì không tiện xe máu, quyết định xe máu từ team Mouse nha. NCC1 và cũng là quyết định xe máu đến từ team Fighters Pro. Roger còn có 9 máu thôi mọi người. Roger còn có 9 máu, một pha xe máu mình không nghĩ chắc là ui NCC1 lượt được sao lại lượt được vào rớt này, trời ơi. Rồi Marit rớt 2 sao. Đây có thể là game này là xong luôn nha, và có thể là Fighters Pro đập nhau là thắng luôn này. NC1 rồi, Roger và Marit gặp Savi. Nếu mà ok là thắng luôn trận này này. Thắng luôn ở round này thì chúng ta đánh game 3. Thắng được Savi rồi. Thắng được Roger không? Không thắng được rồi. Thắng được luôn. Yes. Sắp đôi đến từ đội tuyển Việt Nam. Fighters Pro. Game 3 dành cho Fighters Pro. Game 3 dành cho Fighters Pro các bạn ơi. Tuyệt vời. Và đây còn lại là trận đấu thủ tục giữa Maris và NCC1 thôi. Game 3 dành cho dành cho Vitus Pro. Sắp đôi. Mỗi người xử lý một thằng. Thế mình mới bảo là cái pha mà xử lý của Roster và Savi hay là không biết là họ xe máu hay là họ ấy, bởi vì mình thấy nó không hợp lý. Pha nào có thể cho Savi top 4 được, top 4 không sao cả, Roster có thể top 2. Cố gắng lên top 1 kiểu vậy. Nhưng mà thật ra đội hình của hai bên team của ấy có thể họ thấy là không thắng được nên là Katarina rất khỏe nha. Nhưng mà Varus khỏe không kém. Ui, Kata bọc ra hàng sau rồi. Kata khỏe quá. Đồng đi chợ. Thật ra là mình thấy là hai đội tối ưu luôn rồi nên là tối ưu rồi ấy nên là mình biết là chắc là kiếm một con Rai 2 thôi chứ không đội tuyển NC1 thì chắc chắn nâng cấp được thêm cái gì rồi. Không nâng cấp được thêm gì rồi. Đổi găng tay cho Rakan thôi. Đánh vào hàng sau rất mạnh. Thôi xong. Top 1 NCC1 Madrid top 2. Quan trọng nhất là một trận thắng dành cho Vitus Pro. Và chúng ta sẽ nghỉ ngơi trong giây lát và tiếp đến game 3, trận đấu giữa Vitus Pro và Mouse.
Not as good. Solo did not hit despite having double econ augments for the GP line. And I think VP did the exact adaptation we're expecting. They tempo played a lot more in stage 3. They added up a lot more pressure. 3 reroll players. Some didn't quite work out, but I think the game plan was solid.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to join in as well. They had 3 reroll players, double treasure hunt, their power level was really high, and that just signaled to the rest of the crew that, hey, we can actually just play for max tempo possible. They weren't holding on to interest. And the thing about playing so many rerolls that's powerful against the Mao strategy is you get to hold their forecasts before they even hit level 8. Much harder for Lusher and Salvi to stabilize.
Does this answer your question then, Panda, that you said before the game even started, where you're like, I would like to see how Mouse is going to deal with things if they do low roll?
It does, but the bigger question is, it's kind of like a counter move now from VP. So how does Mao's counter move in the game 3? Do they stick to the same game plan where they're trying to play Salvi on Sorks pretty much every single game this tournament, and either Lusher, in this case Wet Jungler, on Prodigies? Do they find conditional lines to play new comps, for example Treasure Hunt? into Katarina reroll is something that you wouldn't play by itself maybe, but with Treasure Hunt, it enables it to become a first place comp. So I think a lot of it is 2-1 augment selection as well. If you find lines to play the crew, Katarina, you can pivot off of the default game plan of playing Sorks or Prodigies and have more tempo yourself in stage 3.
And I think Kai'Sa is one of those lines I really want to see. Both of these teams were defeated by Aegis, and Aegis actually played the Kai'Sa really well. Unfortunately for MOUZ, they're averaging a 7 AVP on the line. Maybe that could be the critical turnaround. You need another 2-cost reroll, I would say. I think it's more common to have three 2-cost rerolls from both of these teams going into game 3.
It's really great to see VP with the adaptation, as we touched upon when it comes to this game, but then now we're back to ground zero. It's back to only one match where both of these teams have to an extent kind of like shown their strats a little. So when it comes to the adaptation that we are expecting from MOUZ, considering the caliber of a team that they are, the question remains, can they do it?
I think for the fans and for the viewers and for maybe us as well as analysts, the fun thing would be to see an encounter that adds a little bit of spice to the mix, that forces players off of their default game plan or just augmented from them, and in the end swing a matchup in that favor. I think playing for the same exact 4 comps again from MOUZ would be a little bit too boring, but also I think they've learned VP, right? They're countering it already with more tempo, more reroll, so I think they have to spice it up a bit in this game 3.
One of the key weapons for VP is actually going to be the all-out composition. They have great AVPs on this, and it actually counters the Sorks incredibly hard by taking away the Jarvans and focusing their backlines. So I think that is something they have to be a little bit worried about. VP has already shown the trend both of these games. They played in that composition as a specific counter. Can MOUZ kind of adjust around it?
Even with the Mighty Meg variation, you're holding Karmas without having to rely on Karma and hitting it because you're not itemizing her. So it's just the cleanest way to counter Sork without playing Sork yourself and entering that same kind of fiesta of rolling down and trying to hit Karma 2 and Jarvan 2 to stabilize. I've seen, I think back-to-back games they've played it. Yes. I think overall much more of the Eastern teams have played all out Cassante compared to the Western teams. And I think that's one thing that will be a trend for this entire tournament. Some regions learning from others and adapting on the fly as we move in every day of the tournament.
Yeah, adaptation here is going to be the name of the game specifically for this final match. Also would like to touch upon a little bit of the pressure that we have heading into this. VP obviously with the club championship points as well, but MOUZ also because other teams have been speaking so highly of them when it comes to contesting them in scrims.
Yeah, they've been scrimming against everyone all the time. So Logasong has been putting aside his streaming, his personal, individual kind of training just for the 4v4. So there's a lot invested in this squad. I have personally seen them just grind out games over and over against Flash Wolves, against a lot of the APAC teams. They're very active in that scene as well. On the other hand, for VP, I think no one really expected them to get here, to be honest. They took down Tidal, they took down YBY1, much bigger names on their side. So I actually feel like there's less pressure because of that, because of the unexpected nature of their run.
So in that case, you would say that this is MOUZ's game to lose?
I think so. I think because they just have a lot of expectations on themselves. They're very confident players. They've had an illustrious career. In EMEA qualifiers, they expected to be more dominant, but they weren't quite there. So I think this is their time to prove that they deserve to be here.
Well, one key is going to be crushed at the end of this match, and either MOUZ or VP will be sent home, and the other will be able to press that button and see the key explode right in front of them. Which one is it going to be, and which team will taste the glory and advance to playoffs? We'll find out after the break.
All right, everybody, it's Puggy with Sandstorm, and today we're going to find out how well does Sandstorm know his TFT. Are you ready?
No.
Good luck anyway. All right, first one. Guess today's unit from Teamfight Tactics.
All right, you know what? I'm going to start with the one that's been used the most. I'm putting my trust in Gangplank, and if it's the first one. Okay, so it's not, so it's a 1 cost, it's a range, and it's a female. So it's lower than a 2 cost, so that means it's a 1.
Good.
So that means
narrows it.
Yeah, so it's a 1 cost unit that's a female. I'm instantly thinking Kale. Okay, right. So it's not Wraith, it's not Duelist.
Female.
Oh,
one
okay.
range,
I
one
forgot.
cost.
So it's 1. So we got it. Who are the female?
Not a
1
duelist.
cost.
Not a mighty mech.
No. But at least we know that the cost is 1. I'm trying to think of what other 1 cost I know. It's not Sivir. Callista? No, but Callista, again, Callista's it's long range, but I guess this gives a... Okay.
Soul Fighter, okay.
Is it Nefiri, maybe? No.
2 more categories.
Nefiri. So it's got, like, let's go with... No. Oh, it is!
It
yeah,
is
let's go!
Nefiri. 4 guesses in.
Okay, let's take it. Let's get it. Oh, I was ready.
Not bad.
Welcome back, one and all. 1 game remains of the Group B deciders. One of these teams stays in the competition. Will it be Virtus Pro or Mouse? A single game of TFT is all that is left for them, Stuart. We've seen one game go definitively one way, then the other. It all comes down to this.
Game 1 was very much in the favor of Mouse, with them pushing to level 8, the prismatic augments going in their favor, with players like Salvi being a very comfortable spot. Game number 2 was all about the rerolls. You know, 3 of Virtus Pro players going for these reroll compositions, not contesting the Gangplank, which is very surprising to see, but I think it just shows the power of Treasure Hunt, the power of Stars Are Born.
Chào mừng các bạn đến với trận đấu tiếp theo của team Virtus Pro và Mouse. Trận 3, game 3, sau một trận game 2 có vẻ là đã có lỗi gì đó nên là bạn đang pause lại nha mọi người. Một game 2 rất là cảm xúc của Virtus Pro, sắp đôi ở round, sắp đôi của team Virtus Pro.
If that's the case, I mean, it's certainly if that is going to.
Oh, prismatic. Oh boy, this is well, I mean, if this goes the same as game number 1, which it looks like
Có vẻ là vào game rồi nha mọi người.
then don't think so, but Mouse might be able to win this game. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, the organ selection might be a little bit different this time. Yeah,
game
a little while to see what these pragmatics are going to bring out for fucking players. Well, I think you put that really well in game one. Upper mobility, taking away the 3 players who ended up in first, second, and third place. So, you know, it's still a volatile space, but it definitely feels
4 đấu,
like...
đây là thể cho các bạn nào chưa biết thì đây là thể thức 4 đấu 4 ở ESPORTS World Cup 2025, bộ môn TFT. Thì đấu 4 này thì sẽ là đánh BO3, thắng 2 trận là thắng. Đội nào có điểm tổng sóc cao hơn thì đội đó sẽ giành chiến thắng trong game đó nha mọi người. Game 1 là chiến thắng của Mouse, game 2 là chiến thắng của Vitus Pro, và đây là game 3 quyết định. Đội nào thắng ở trong trận đấu này thì sẽ tiếp tục đánh ở nhánh dưới bảng B. Đội thua đương nhiên ra về sách vali về nước. Phiên bản này là phiên bản 15.1B, phiên bản vừa mới cập nhật luôn nha mọi người. Ở phiên bản này thì Gangplank đã yếu đi khá nhiều. Trong 2 game mình vừa coi thì Gangplank đã yếu đi khá nhiều. Cả 2 lần Gangplank đều không thể vào được top 4. Và mình thấy có một cái team khá khỏe, đó là team Katarina. Team đã giúp cho Vitus Pro thắng ở trận đấu trước. Và thêm một team nữa là Akali với Sante. Team lõi kim cương đầu tiên nha mọi người, tuyệt vời. West Jungler đã chọn ấn, còn mọi người chưa chọn. Lõi kim cương đầu tiên là sẽ rất là nặng nha mọi người. Tức là nếu mà cái lõi đó nó không được sử dụng tối đa là TRgsmåt chọn lõi gì đấy? Malphite.
We haven't seen this, if I'm not mistaken. We've seen the Zac, we've seen the Kennedy, we haven't seen the Malphite just yet. Comes more of a carry unit, you know, just able to stand around and
Over 9,000 luôn chăng?
We've also got over 9,000 if that was the selection. But the Opens on the left.
Có chọn over 9,000 luôn không đâu, TRgsmåt chưa? Thật ra là khá là ok với cái lõi tướng. Thì cái lõi nâng cấp mà chọn over 9,000 thì khá là hay. Over 9,000 thôi. Milo chọn Nightlight.
Interesting. Someone and Bilo, we've seen Bilo already here playing for the Austrian, but you only want to do a little bit with 9 lives to try and get more power. With Solik-san also playing 9 lives, which was Solik-san played in game number 1, which he feels comfortable on.
TRspodcũng chọn gói Nightlight 9 mạng nha mọi người. Mọi người sẽ có 9 máu, tương đương với 9 mạng. Mỗi lần thua chỉ mất 1 máu thôi.
Just try and inject some extra gold in. So, while it is all prismatics again, we are seeing some notable.
Myris có luôn một con kata rồi, 2 con kata rồi. Sophie chọn một lõi ra con Severe 3 sao, đánh luôn chiến hạm reroll. Ổn nhá. Nhưng mà như này là sẽ tranh bài với như này là sẽ tranh bài Malphite đấy. Ổn không? Mình nghĩ là hơi sai lầm rồi nha, bởi vì bây giờ TRspods là đánh bài Malphite mà bây giờ Severe chiến hạm. Hơi tranh bài nhau nha. Hơi xui một chút. Hơi xui một chút dành cho team Mouse. Như mình có thể là nặng luôn nha mọi người. Lõi kim cương mà có thể rất là nặng dành cho team Mouse luôn nha. TRspods và Milo cùng thua game thứ 2 rồi. West Jungler thì có một con A-Shock 3 sao. Không đẹp lắm. 2 lõi ấy của team Mouse, 3 lõi là mình nghĩ như này là không đẹp lắm rồi nha. Khá là bóp nha. Ui, Katarina sao rồi? Vậy là chọn một lõi Katarina, ui hợp lý quá. Giờ không ai tranh bài với Katarina quá. Như này
You know, previous game, they got run over on a limb. They're taking 2 Billabuzz instantly. You couldn't have a more dramatic turn of saying, there's no way we get run over. It's very, very difficult because it could go horribly wrong. You could go 2 Billabuzz, they can both go into the same composition as I mentioned. So it's high risk.
Chưa có đồ đẹp cho Katarina.
And I'm very interested to see what the direction goes now with with.
Mình hy vọng có thể con lại con Loester. Ui, Milo với Sole sang cùng thua tiếp. Làm cái gì thế Lanh?
I wonder if it becomes a situation where maybe, I don't know, it's tough because it could be a case of maybe Russia doesn't go for Malphite 3, but I mean it's pretty obvious that he is because he's going to get one every single round. So let me see Rico for a little bit here still. I'm probably going to be told I'm cheating on all this stuff by multiple different people, but at this point, with crew, with 1-3 sides with your crews will appear at any level. So theoretically, I'm wondering if we might see an attempt being made from somebody to push levels instead and maybe go, and get access to the Ziggs faster and sort of backfill the Malphite along the way. I don't think that's a possibility, unfortunately. I mean, you have to get this Malphite through. You have to get 4 crews to get online to try and get that extra power from the rockets that are going to be coming on through. I think the only thing that's not going to happen in this game is like 4-star Malphite play for the 4. I think sometimes with protagonists you try and play towards the 4 stars, but in the end I don't think they're going to. Which also looks like he's playing for the 1-cost reroll. So this is, at the same time, this is actually going to help out the other players as well because we have 3 1-cost reroll players to max.
Lõi cự thạch khổng lồ nhá các bạn. Nó Thatcher là đang cầm lõi cự thạch khổng lồ, nhận 1 Malphite. Malphite mạnh nhất của bạn trở thành đấu sĩ. Nhận tốc độ đánh cộng thêm và giờ hắn sẽ lao tới kẻ địch gần hết, tung chúng và gây sát thương lớn. Tức là nó phải 3 sao và có thể là 4 sao. Nó phải 3 sao nha, như vậy là đang rất là bóp đến từ team Mao nha. Solo gây sang tiếp tục thua.
We'll have to see what direction where Jungler plays because of course he can roll for the KO3 as well if he wants to. Maybe he just uses the Aatrox to push levels and try and maybe go to the lane with the KO. That's also another possibility. He is keeping units like Mouse Heart.
Có vẻ là quét Jungler đang muốn đánh bài hạng nặng hả? Hay là dũng sĩ? Dũng sĩ đi chưa? Mình nghĩ là đánh bài dũng sĩ hợp lý hơn chưa? Hay là vẫn đang phân vân chăng? Kian chốt luôn bài Mundo rồi. Chốt bài có lẽ là chốt bài Mundo giờ Hin, tiếp tục bài Mundo giờ Hin. Madrid có 5 con kata rồi, mỗi tội lại chưa có đồ kata. Mao Savi gặp Mao Westlander.
We're seeing now on the right hand side, Salvi slammed Sean Gauntlet on the Severe. I don't think he's going to be playing for the crew this game. I think he's actually just playing this build above, playing for the Severe and just using it for tempo, using it to try and go to level 8, level 9. Understanding there must have been so much conversation between Russia, between Salvi. How do we play in this position? As I mentioned,
Bắt buộc nó sẽ phải bắt buộc lên được Malphite, sắp lên được Malphite 3 rồi. Lên được Malphite 3 thì cái sự khó khăn của ấy sẽ bỏ. Có thể là đội chiến hạng sẽ bỏ không chơi chiến hạng nha.
Playing towards more tempo, it's already level 5, so it completely avoid the Malphite, and it's going to play more traditional AP line this time. Okay, still be here for him. You can certainly see it on the left hand side of Russia. Of course, with the Malphite pulling up in his match, he's playing a little bit of through himself, so we'll see how he ends up approaching. We do get a little taste of what the Malphite hero is going to be able to do for us in this game.
Malphite là anh hùng của Malphite.
Unusual item, but
Malphite 3 nha mọi người.
And sometimes he can end up dropping aggro. And with the Bloodthirst as well, he's going to be going through entire squads. Be very hard to
Solo gây sang. Có vẻ lại đang cố gắng tiếp tục đánh gạch lanh. Này khó rồi nha. Solo gây sang 5 máu, Milo 4 máu. Hai ông nội chọn Nightlight đuối quá. Milo tranh đồ tranh bài với cả Solo gây sang luôn. Ui, xếp quanh lỗi rồi.
door is wide open right now for these two teams to see what direction they're going to go in and how they're going to play with these boards, because this is a completely different game of team fight tactics in a 4v4 environment that we really haven't seen before, where two teams are pretty much contesting in the same units. Yeah, honestly, from what we've seen so far, both very worthy. Notably, it's ahead on the losing lives part of the 9 lives equation. Was 1 ahead before Solid Sign, now it's going to be 2 ahead, so the extra injection hopefully can stick with.
Lõi thứ hai cũng là lõi bình thường. Chọn rất nhiều tiền để roll. Solid Sign cũng có rank 2 nhưng mà không có tiền.
On 3 goals, the extra could for Milo is going to benefit him in the long run.
Đổi bài. Kataba rồi.
With a poor start worth the way, is going to get the Arena 3-star very early on. Yeah, I mean, that's extremely nasty. And it's supposed to be big ball building up as well. So Maris currently on a loss streak. We know this is going to get stronger and stronger throughout the game. You see that she's nightmarishly good at taking out those backlines if she can punch through and access all areas up against NCC. It looks like they are more in the prodigy line. You can see the middle of the ball gets instantly. Katarina just jumps right off the backline. In the end, taking unlimited power, getting that Morelli on the backline, getting the anti-air, getting the death cap as well. Not normally the best items for the Katarina, but just looks really good the way that Katarina.
Tian bỏ mình không để ý, Tian lội chơi tháng 6 rồi mọi người, giờ Hin rất khỏe. Với 3 cái kiếm tử thần này.
Triple death blades. If you don't want a sword, you get 2 swords, but maybe you want a third as well. I mean, why not? More swords equals better. I'm pretty sure it's how the equation goes, but I think this kind of brings in again an aspect of the team play we've been discussing before. You know, we're seeing some of our players here really defining their roles in the game, of saying immediate power is what is needed for
Milo còn có 2 mạng thôi.
In the game to be powerful right now, even if it's long term, it's as strong as it could be. It's a very interesting spot for Milo. Actually, he's on a 7-game losing streak. So I said, do you want to lose a few rounds with 9 lives, get a bit of economy? Losing 7 rounds and being on 2 lives is not really a comfortable position to be in. Does have 6 good pros on the bench, but he's not playing it for now because unfortunately he hasn't hit that rise. And of course, we don't want the 2 for 1 talk. That sometimes be a little bit of a problem. Even me in the community as well, you know, 2-1 mentor.
Milo,
one of other
Tian.
tricks have been in the past where you only have the 1 and 4 as an option. But I think Milo is pretty stable for now. Has a lot of power on this end.
Cố gắng đánh nhiều nhất thôi. Chuỗi thua của Kian để dừng lại, chắc là khả năng là dừng lại với Milo. Có dừng không? Chưa chắc nha. Bỏ đồ của ấy ra rồi mà Kian vẫn thắng. Ui. Nhưng mà được cái là có win streak 8 của Kian. Solo sang của 4 mà. Bỏ đồ của Mundo ra rồi nhưng mà Kian vẫn thắng. Cố ý muốn xe máu với từ Kian. Milo chọn một cái cung và một con set, chắc là hy vọng là nâng con set 2.
For him to get into a spot. NT11 actually going for the plan. It's probably going to the Prodigy. Already has that mouse 2-star online, so it could be a possibility there to try and go into, or maybe if he has a recorder, go into a pan. We'll have to see here what the extra it's going to be. Could be the duplicate and be a Radiant item as well, Radiant upgrade as a possibility.
Set 2 rồi. Set 2. Máu cuối cùng của Milo mọi người qua coi rất nhiều, rất vui. Căng quá. Khả năng mình cũng nghĩ là Milo sẽ đứt luôn trận này quá. Quét xương lơ.
Look, if you can handle a loss here, again, that's a huge tool out of the arsenal of versus Pro. They did recover last game from losing out on the other one. Maybe they won't be able to do it again. So you can see how fast that is.
Nó khả năng là thắng được quét răng lờ. Khả năng quét răng lờ rồi. Rất mạnh. Ok, đẩy được máu với Trang L. Không biết là Kian có tiếp tục thắng không? Kian chuỗi thắng 9 rồi.
Lucky there that he was able to win another round, but again, still in a really, really tough spot. I feel like was really hoping that with that invested at level 6 that he rolls down, he trying against that gangplank. But sometimes that's the risky scenario that we play. You know, some players are saying that it's actually better to go to level 7 with this gangplank board, have more of a chance to hit the rise. Because the difference between playing one mentor with the Udia and full mentor makes such a big difference. You get so much more.
Rồi xếp chơi có trận thắng thứ 4 rồi.
In the end. And so I sort of did move towards the pro, you know, with Salvi, of course, not going for pro. I was maybe expecting, you know, maybe Lasha can go towards more protected. Of course, pro with the protagonist with Malphite was a lot better. But I was thinking that maybe with Salvi, you know, with Go the Blood, they could maybe switch things around. But Salvi, I
Bỏ đồ ra để
sold the Seviers at some point
Maris
to make sure that Lasha could. Well, of course,
bỏ đồ ra để cứu Milo.
we take care of Miller for time being and making sure, okay, is it?
Bỏ đồ ra để cứu Milo. Xe máu với Maris với Milo xe máu.
It was actually really well played there because
Kian đánh được solo gây sang rồi, solo gây sang còn 3 máu, còn 3 mạng thôi. Peo, Kian chuỗi thắng 10. Rất tuyệt vời, nó chờ chuỗi thắng 5.
that Kian could have taken out Milo, it could have gone into 8th place. That's really good communication from these players, understanding the position that they're in. Not Kian, sorry, they have to read the player. Yeah, Kian's still on the win.
Quay Trang L đang cầm 6 con ganh nha mọi người. Và bài thì chắc là đánh bài giống với cả
They keep Milo alive up until stage 4. Then on second to recognize, of course, we see Kian doing really, really well. Yeah, with of course the regular stuff we see with the Mondo. On the right hand side, Red Giant brings in the heavyweights, bringing out the Emperor as well. I mean, how the Aatrox
đánh hạng lặng hả?
in the game incentivize some more unusual lines of play. And you see Red Giant also holding the gangplanks as well, so it makes it even difficult for Milo to try and hit that gangplank 3. He's going to be rolling down here at level 6. It's two Dr. Mundos away. Had an opportunity to actually pick up another gangplank there, decides not to. He feels like 6 is actually enough to keep him on his bench to stop Milo from hitting that G3. On the other side, also 2 away from Dr. Mundo is Kian. Points for the 0 goal.
thiếu 2 con giờ hin nữa.
We'll see now been up over 4.
Quanh 3 sao dành cho Milo, tuyệt vời.
The GP3 has been here. We do have the radiant items and the set to start as well. So maybe, just maybe, Milo has found a spot to save.
Lõi hạng nặng đến từ Kian, nếu mà đổi sang lõi Gomu tốt quá. Lõi hạng nặng thì là bạn sẽ có là tăng khả năng chống chịu với cả là tiếp tục xe máu đến từ NCC1.
I mean, it was a very tough spot, you know, going back to 1 life and 9 lives, you know.
Red Giant đã phải bán đi hai con ganh 2 sao và hy vọng solo gây sang xe máu đến từ Red Giant và solo gây sang.
In terms of power, where I believe
Kian thua rồi. Processor thắng. Lõi kim cương thứ 3 này mọi người.
So, you know, finding that 3 star is going to be very important. NTC1. It really got extra power here in terms of items. Those have item deal and fishbone, which is a very
Có vẻ là một đánh phù thủy. Có ấy rồi.
combination of items.
Đánh phù thủy.
On the left hand side.
Phong phù thủy mọi người.
Stands out too much. Was it called to chaos?
Chưa có cặp ma.
We have Belt Overflow and Salvi going for the Blazing Soul, getting the extra attack speed. But again, as expected, played it plenty of Radiant Refractors, the Kian and the Web Jungler to get more power on the board.
Xoay bài rất tốt từ NCC1. Bắt đầu gắn mã đồ cho ấy rồi. NCC1 gặp ngay ông
as well as last minute Echo and Hughes for current Lush is the only win to be played in the lobby. So
Red Giant. Có vẻ là dàn đam làm tăng không đủ nên là làm tăng không đủ chăng? Ui thay quá, đánh được top sau rồi. Chỉ còn mỗi con Mondo này thôi. Mình nghĩ là đánh được thôi. Tốt quá. Chưa có các hai nhưng mà đã có đồ đẹp dành cho thằng Ron Manfire 4 sao này các bạn. Nó chơi có con ấy rồi. Có con Sivir 3 sao rồi.
Such a nightmare to
3
deal
sao,
with.
CHAN 3 sao luôn.
Being on the back line, just being inaccessible to basically clear the rest of all these. It's just almost below us. We see
Kia là loại
a
Vi hả?
defender by herself. But I think
À,
that
loại
she's
đấy của con
experienced. Yeah, you see
quân sư hay là gì á?
very well. How does he go translate that into the rest of the squad? Because you're right that he's on 90 HP. He doesn't need to be on 90 HP. I don't think that seems like too much. Yeah, I mean, you saw him just at the end of that round actually removing items from the Malphite, understand his position.
Hy vọng là chúc Milo sẽ có lõi quả nâng cấp Gomu. Solo gây sao? Bạn thứ chắc là bạn. Ôi rồi xong. Removal Lodger bỏ đồ ra rồi nhưng vẫn không cứu được solo gây sang, có 1 máu thôi. TRạo giả NG thua luôn. Just
So these Soldier will join the 9 lives party on a single life respectively. When we see the Milo, of course, with the gangplank as we go to rip absolutely through. You know, from Soldier side of things,
rồi sẽ chơi hình như có một con quân sư, hình như là con Echo, có con Echo từ đó kim cương và hệ là hệ quân sư nên là đã kẹp cả Rai vô luôn rồi, và hiện tại đang là có 4 quân sư rồi. Kian là chứ hơi nhiều kiếm hơi Kian, lấy thêm một cái kiếm nữa thì hơi kỳ.
And we get into a situation now where both these two players, as the observers, have to be side by side, but both of these nine players, but they're both for 1 HP, and there's actually an artifact and build.
Khó quá. Đồ này thì chắc chọn cái ấy thôi. Đẩy lên level 7 kẹp quân sư. Milo gặp Lost, hy vọng thắng nha. Bên này lên CC1, mỗi team sẽ thịt nhau. Quen khá là khỏe rồi. Ôi, Quanh thì khống chế nhiều quá. Vẫn còn, vẫn sống. Lost thắng. Ô, solo cái sang top 8 rồi. San luôn rồi. Mundo 2 đến từ Kia.
In the game number 1, this time around it was contested with Milo taking that invested at stage 3. I think was such a huge difference because we saw Solo on 0 gold rolling down, was able to find the rise. Milo was able to find the GP3 early on, was able to stabilize his board with the 9 lives. Yes, of course, it's for outmaneuvering Miles. You have to think it's going to be a sinking feeling coming into Mountain Stomachs right now. No, they've now, they've lost the face-to-face between the two, and they've still not got a way to stop Milo or to be able to come through and ruin absolutely everything. I think the difficulty now is how you're going to out-tap this GP board if you're on the side of Miles.
Khỏe quá. TRಯಾವುgiả lên được giờ hin 2 sao rồi. Nhưng mà ok, không vấn đề gì với Milo. Savi còn 3 máu này.
Which doesn't look very likely at the moment, with Milo performing incredibly well at the moment. Kian on that jib line, also very powerful right now. Maris on a 4-win streak.
Win streak rồi.
Trying to think of how really Maris can actually come.
Có thể là Savi nếu mà được là đẩy được cả Savi với TRಯಾವುgiả xuống top 7, top 8 là Milo đi được rồi nha. Savi, ok, lên được cả pha 2, cờ san tây 2 rồi, rất khỏe nha, form bài phù thủy rất khỏe rồi nha.
And that will, of course, put Miles into position. They have to get first and second. And basically what we've seen so far, the ones you've seen most likely to get first and second are Versus.
Yeah.
I mean, in hindsight, in the end, you probably would have said for Miles, you don't go.
Đang cầm 2 con Karma nữa là bởi vì là để không cho team Vitus Pro, team phù thủy lên được Karma 2 nha.
Took that build above, got the severe, but then the protagonist on the other side was the Malphite. So Salvi has to play towards his comfort, towards going for the sorcerer board, but he has to sell this severe restart to try and help Lusher try and win out this lobby with the protagonist. But it's put Salvi in a really difficult spot where he has no econ or no two. He's only able to get a little bit of econ from Build-A-Bug. Wasn't really able to. I mean, he was born to pretty stabilized at the moment with Karma 2 and Consulting 2, but
Team Savi gặp team nào đây?
Salvi comes up against Milo once. That's it. The game's over.
Milo tiếp tục thắng Maris
enemy alike.
với thằng 8. Đương nhiên Savi cũng sẽ đánh. Đây là các team đang xe máu nha mọi người. Tian thua rồi. West Jungle còn 1 máu nha mọi người. Có thể là sắp đôi và chiến thắng luôn ở trong round này nha. West Jungle lên được Bondo 3 sao rồi. West Jungle 1 máu thì phải 3 máu đấy. West Jungle 3 máu, Savi 3 máu, West Jungle 1 máu. Nếu mà sắp được đôi lần trong round này là tốt nhất nha mọi người. Khó quá, nó kẹp được cả West Jungle, kẹp được cả Varus rồi. Giờ Hin 3 sao. Team này là tối đa rồi nha mọi người. Tối đa rồi. Nếu mà có thêm thì lên thêm bắn tỉa vào thôi. Rochester có xe máu không? Cả hai đều đấu với Rochester luôn. Rochester. Hên. Savi thắng. Bên này là bóng thôi. Bóng thôi thì ok, chắc là không vấn đề gì.
It's pretty close to be fair, but I think the Doctor window should be tanking nothing. That was it.
Ui. Yeah. Đây, West Jungle top 7. Đẩy Savi top 6 nữa, chúng ta chiến thắng nha mọi người. Cả
he's still at the top of the table, but it's so far below Kasawi. He's on 3 HP. He has to make this work. He somehow has to get into the top 2, but I don't know how Salvi stabilizes in this position. This might just end right here, right now, with Salvi, depending on who he comes up against. For now is
Savi gặp ai đây? Mình muốn coi màn hình của Savi. Savi gặp Milo.
The GP3 boards, and I don't know if Salvi's gonna have enough damage.
Savi đủ đam không? Savi và Milo có thể là người quyết định chiến thắng của team TRgsmål nha mọi người. Ôi, Savi chiến thắng. Milo thua rồi. Tí nữa thì Milo thắng.
Elimination as well. I'm not too sure who that is. We'll have to wait and find out who that is. That might be NCC.
Ui!
Kian also going out. So
Kian đi luôn.
Is now completely. It's very difficult still for Mouse.
Chúng ta còn lại 2 người là Madrid và NCC1 nha mọi người. Còn lại 2 người top 4 như vậy là phải top 1 và top 2 nha. Hiện tại là chúng ta có Kian với Milo chúng ta có hơn điểm nha. Hiện tại thì đang hơn điểm nhưng mà máu thì bây giờ thì Savi phải đẩy Savi xuống top 4 nha mọi người. Phải đẩy Savi xuống top 4 trước cái đã. Thì chúng ta có thể chiến thắng nha. Chúng ta lấy ví dụ cho cái Mao hiện tại mới chỉ đang có 1 điểm, 2 điểm và 3 điểm này. TRgsmål đang có 3 điểm với 4 điểm là 7 điểm. Bây giờ Savi phải thua nha mọi người. Savi phải thua. VCC1 ơi, cố lên, thắng rồi. Nhưng mà Madrid cũng thua luôn. Yes, Savi top 4 và đây các bạn đang nhìn thấy đây là cái Khoảnh khắc chiến thắng của team Vitus Pro. Thắng rồi. Chúng ta thắng rồi. Marus top 3, NCC One top 2 thắng rồi. Một trận đấu rất là căng thẳng. Roger rất mạnh và họ sẽ top 1. Mình tin là họ sẽ top 1 nhưng Vitus Pro một trận đấu tuyệt vời, căng thẳng đến giây. Ôi, thắng rồi mọi người ơi. Và Vitus Pro tiếp tục ở nhánh thua bảng B. Rất là căng thẳng.
Throughout this entire tournament, and we knew this group was going to be so close. The same with Group A as well coming into this tournament. We know that Group A and Group B have been very close, but you can see smiles on the faces of all of Virtus Pro as well. The relief.
Và xong, game cuối luôn. Roger top 1, nhưng mà người chiến thắng là Vitus Pro nha mọi người. Khoảnh khắc chiến thắng của Vitus Pro. Tuyệt vời, tuyệt vời. Tuyệt vời. Khoảnh khắc chiến thắng của Vitus Pro. Chưa phải là trận cuối cùng của đội tuyển Việt Nam tại ESPORTS Cùng Cup. Chúng ta sẽ còn tiếp tục gặp họ trong những ngày tiếp theo. Rất tuyệt vời. Lội ngược dòng 2-1 đến từ Vitus Pro.
And they defy all odds again. They did it in the qualifier. They took down teams like TRgsmål, like TRedivision, and everyone thought that this would be a weaker APEC team coming into the ESPORTS World Cup. But they have proven in this group stage that they are here to play and they are here to fight as well. And what an incredible performance from them in both game number 2 and game number 3. Game number 2, that triple reroll composition that they were going for. In game number 3, you can see Maris on your screen. Ecstatic with this result as well, and even behind the scenes, a brilliant result for Virtus Pro, and it means that it's such a huge difference when it comes to Cup Championship now. With Virtus Pro qualifying, they're able to get more points and try and catch up to the likes of Falcons, of Team Liquid, and also Team Vitality, who all got knocked out in the group stage. Not only this is big for Team Vitality, this is really big.
Ok, một trận sáng rất là cảm xúc của Virtus Pro nha mọi người. Mình sẽ để cái luồng stream này tiếp tục nhưng mà chắc mình phải đi ăn cơm thôi.
We are indeed. Virtus Pro are into the quarterfinals. They lock in that playoff spot. And I'm here with NCC, who has just been celebrating with his team like they just won the entire thing. It's what we love to see here at the Esports World Cup. I'm here, of course, with a translator, Andrella. Let me get it right. How do I say your name?
Yes.
I got it right. Good. I thought I got it wrong for a second there. So NCC, you were celebrating like crazy up there. You must feel so relieved and proud of yourself and your team here.
Mình đã ăn mừng một cách rất là vui. Lúc như mà ban nãy thì mình đã cảm thấy rất là tự hào ngay khoảnh khắc này, hay như thế nào?
Sau khi em quên cái tên đó thì em cảm thấy rất là vui và có một tí hơi xúc động ạ.
When I won that last match, I was really happy and also like excited for the thing that I have done in the match.
Yeah, well, you had to keep in immense composure during the match up there to make sure that you secured the win. It was a nail biter to watch from behind the scenes. How was it in game? How did you keep your cool?
Khi mà ở trong game á, làm thế nào mình giữ bình tĩnh được để mà mình có thể thắng trận đấu?
Trong game thì nếu mà có một chút gì mất bình tĩnh thì mình cứ nhìn về các đồng đội của mình thôi.
So in game, when I keep my composure together or keep it cool by looking at my teammates, that's how I keep my calm.
Is it a good, friendly relationship? Have you got a good, strong friendship group there within the team? Is there a good vibe and energy going into the quarterfinals?
Vậy là trong team của mình đồng đội, tinh thần đồng đội rất là tốt, cho nên là mình đã có thể giữ được bình tĩnh để mà mình có thể đi vào vòng chung kết, đúng vậy không?
Vâng, team em thì đồng đội là một cái gì đó rất là kiểu quan trọng ấy.
For me, my team is super important.
So you are into the quarterfinals. You'll find out later on tonight who you will be facing off against. Have you got a message to the other teams waiting for you in the playoffs?
Mình đang chuẩn bị được đi vào chung kết á, thì mình sẽ đối đầu với những cái team khác. Thì bạn có cái thông điệp nào muốn nhắn gửi với lại đối thủ của mình hay không khi mà mình được tiến vào vòng chung kết?
Tụi em đến đây với cái mục tiêu là vô địch nên là cũng không ngán một ai đâu ạ.
So my message to other opponents is that we're here for the champions, so we're not gonna afraid of any of you.
I love that. You better be concerned. All right, so have you seen the key crushing that's been happening at this event, and what have you made of it so far?
Mình đã thấy được cái cảnh mà nghiền cái chìa khóa của đối thủ chưa trong ESPORTS?
Có ạ.
Yes, I did.
Would you like to crush Mouse's key right now?
Bây giờ mình sẽ crush key của Mouse team nha.
Yes.
All right, he's ready for it. Unfortunately for Mouse, this is where their EWC journey ends. But for VP, they are just getting started. Quarterfinals next for you. And for now, it's back to the desk to talk us through that series.
Quarterfinals locked in from the side of VP. A strong showing here today against Mouse. Against all odds, especially after that first game being dropped, they managed to crawl their way back into the competition.
And NCC1, I think, was the big star at the end there. He was going more for a Prodigy line. Suddenly found himself with two of the strongest artifacts in the game for Sorcerers with the Gwen and the Fishbones and Karma with Wedding Jewel, and then completely took over that stage 4.
Yeah, and I do have to say the Prismatics were really in the favor of Virtus.pro this game. On the other side for Mouse, it was a lot of self-contesting. They had a Tectonic Titan, a Sniper line coming out, so there was a Sivir 3 from Build a Bud, and both of the lines were taken by their own teammates. So they had to do hard pivots, and the caps just weren't high enough.
Yeah, we talked about Mouse specifically and how both them and VP are some of the teams in the tournament that are very rigid when it comes to that roles. And if anything, it kind of came back to bite them.
I think it's my fault. I asked for Spice in the last analyst desk, and we got a lot of Spice with the Prismatic starts. Hero augments, you mentioned it, playing a Sivir 3 and having to essentially play for tempo into Sorks. We saw the last fight there. You're losing by so much in that last fight. It was such a blowout 1v1 because your down Prismatic Augment essentially doesn't do much for you at that point in the game, and Solvi was not able to hit his usual cap.
Yeah, for VP though, I think it's very, I know, it is very important for them to go into those group stages, into the playoffs, because now they have those points as well when it comes to the top 8 finish, which for the club championship point is very important. And it further, just the reactions that we had from the players here, Clement, was incredible. The happiness, the joy, just the excitement from winning this matchup. You can tell how much this meant to them.
I can't stress enough how hard a journey this has been for them to find an organization and find a club to call home in the EWC. You know, there was a lot of suitors, but then they looked at their individual performances, and a lot of teams kind of backed out. You know, for a while they were actually rocking the EDG, they were talking to DRX, but in the end it was Virtus.pro that believed in them, and what a pickup this was. They went through all of the best APAC seeds. They faltered to Falcons, but then they also slain one of the best teams coming out of the EMEA. They have proven their worth. I think Virtus.pro, you guys made a great decision packing up these boys.
An absolute heartbreak for Mouse here at EWC. We just saw the reaction cams as well from Salvi, and there's no other way than to describe it, just the heartbreak.
Yeah, it was a long journey, so much hard work. Someone like Solo, for example, going 8th here, the third game of GP, not obviously happy with that result. I think there was also just a disparity in what happened at the end of the game with the 9 lives especially. We had on one side the Radiant Refractor for one of the VP players, and then for Solo he had an artifact. If he hits one of the extremely broken artifacts on GP, potentially he just starts win streaking the rest of the game and wins out, and this is maybe the game that Mouse takes alongside Lusher's dominant position. He hits Death Defiant instead. It just goes on a Yasuo with Asterix, doesn't really do much to win those last few fights, and he immediately dies the turn after that. So I think there was a big disparity in the Prismatic Augments like you mentioned. I think Mouse still had a great journey. They had a tough group, and they had a really, really hard matchup here in this day 3.
I think for Virtus.pro, they really keyed in on the key of the matchup here, and it's about early game tempo. We saw 2 of the 2-cost rerolls working out really well for them, especially for the Katarina with Worth the Wait. It's a pretty risky augment to take for the 2-cost, but it did pay out for Mars right there. On the other hand, we did have one of those lucky gloves, Destinies from Keon, win streaking the entire way through. So they had the early lead in HP and also had the better caps going into the late game.
Yeah, it also means that when we're looking at the bracket specifically, or Group B, so to say, we have our contenders in terms of who is actually going to be moving forward. Of course, now VP is already advancing to those playoffs, but earlier as well, Unscathed, Aegis, they have been doing really well in this bracket, sending Mouse to that lower bracket, sending Virtus.pro to that one as well.
I will say maybe it looks a little bit more dominant here. I know the match with VP was very close. They had to pull out all the tricks in the book with the Crystal Gambit comeback in that Game 3 yesterday to even make it directly to the playoffs. So I'm excited for Aegis. I think every team that's now qualifying to playoffs is incredibly strong, and they've proven it across these 3 days.
Yeah.
It won't be, any easy quarterfinal matchup, that's for sure. And I want to see what the pairings will be eventually, because I'm curious to see who Aegis plays. I think their playstyle is very unique. They're very creative players with Potable, with Gobo as well. So I want to see more of them tomorrow.
There's a lot of dominant teams right here, and Aegis definitely has to be one of them. They're one of the few teams that doesn't run Gangplank sometimes. They're willing to play a lot of Kai'Sa, so interesting metas. Definitely want to see what they have in store.
Yeah, and with that, VP dropping to this lower bracket and getting the win, they also get to crush their first ever key. A little bit of a taste of what's to come for the next couple of days when it comes to playstyle. They can look at this and be like, oh, we can crush a couple more, or that can be the key as well.
I love this as like kind of a visual way to solidify your confidence, to say like a visual representation of your dominance going forward into the playoffs. I think for a team that maybe was a bit more shaky, having to play this final decider match to make it to the playoff, it's a good thing to say, hey, we just beat Mouse. They're an incredibly strong team from EMEA. They have players who've made it to attack around a million times before as well. And now we have the journey ahead of us, playoff bracket.
I just want to point out for all of our APAC boys, they prepared one single line of English for "Do you want the keys to be crushed?"
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got yes sir from NCC1.
Also get to crush their first ever key. A little bit of a taste of what's to come for the next couple of days.
It's a really fun little mini game as well in part of it, right? Because you've already beaten this team, and then just as you mentioned it, to really solidify that success, to solidify that win, and just see it being crushed in front of you, that's a cool one. And for VP now, if they're looking to move forward, and if they do end up getting that trophy, this is a potential key that they can add to their trophy as well, because Mouse was a very strong contender coming into this, and a lot of teams were saying, yeah, we're scrimming them, they're scary, they're the favorites.
Maybe a bit too rigid of a game plan in some ways, maybe not enough reps on different comps. I think in this case, even if you don't play the crew as much, if you're Solvi, not much of a reroller, it was more the Malphites that really threw a wrench in his plans. All in all, maybe the learning here is to try and have a plan B, a plan C, especially if you see your opponents kind of countering your own game plan in some of the matches.
I wonder if that's something to do with the study group, because it was Falcons, Vitality, and Mouse that were screening each other the most, and all three of them are currently dropped out of the tournament. So maybe there is something going on there.
Well, we will never find out, because every single one of those teams is also eliminated. But with that as well, Mouse, a little bit of an exit interview to see what their reflections were of being here at EWC.
Hey guys, it's Puckett, and I got Salvi on the way out here from Mouse Sports. Very fun matchup watching. We were very excited in the green room, especially during that game too. How did TRspods end up coming back on you guys?
Hard to say right now, I have to look back, but I think we once lost some flips. I think we made some mistakes. We were low on econ, both our forecast players, so we had to delay our level 8. I was never able to get the money to play for winner there either, so that one felt somewhat out of our hands, but I think the last game we maybe could have clinched it back.
Yeah, what would have you done differently now that you know the game is over? Because it looked like at a time you and a teammate were going for the same roles.
Oh, I mean, we have the idea that protagonist is auto-click, and then I didn't have a spot, so I also need to click build-a-bot. Maybe in hindsight he needs to click first, I need it, but I think it's fine. I don't think that screwed the game. I think my line into Sox was still okay. Lush still had a really good spot. So yeah, maybe look back, look at the augment choices. Maybe there was a different line we could have taken for sure, yeah.
I think the fans will remember you though as the team that took out a juggernaut to kick off this tournament. Are you proud of your team, and what are your expectations for next year?
Oh, I mean, it was still super fun, playing with the boys. We've played for very long. We took the longest route in the online qualifiers. We played a lot of here. We did a very long boot camp. So it was obviously very fun. Shout out to the boys. Thank you very much. And yeah, for next year, not sure yet. Probably try to make it back, obviously. And yeah, maybe make a deeper run next time.
Well, Alan has been talking you guys up since the start of this tournament, and for good reason. You made a fan of me this weekend.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Shout out to the boys and hindsight 2020. I mean, again, it's really nice to hear that even though this is a tournament that ended short, potentially in their expectations, they are still taking away learnings, and they're still happy for the fact that they were able to do the boot camp, they were able to play with each other, they were able to change their approach a little bit, because of course 4v4 very different than free-for-all.
I think the matchups were all very close. A lot of it came down to some variants in the prismatic augments, for example, on some of the artifacts, just some of the variants in TFT that's what happens at the end of the day. And they're still composed. Their game plan was pretty solid. They played well. There wasn't any kind of blowouts or embarrassing wins. And they said it. They had a huge route to make it here, even in the first place. They've gone through so much together as a team. I think they've all grown individually as well for the rest of this set, and the TAC crown and the pro circuit as well. I think it'll be really exciting to see them. And I definitely expect to see this exact roster and Mouse as well supporting them in next year's EWC.
Yeah, up next we have the third best of 3 of today. Another elimination match when it comes to a rematch between Twisted Minds and Flash Wolves. This game went all the way to the distant last time, Clement, and if history is to repeat itself, if that game was anything as to what we can set our expectations for today, this is going to be another banger.
Oh, this is one of the most hyped matchups coming into it just because of how close we had it. EWC history, this was the only series where all 3 games went to sudden death, decided by the very last fight. So you could not get anything closer if you wanted.
This matchup was very close. I was on the edge of my seat every single game watching it. We're casting this next one together, Clement, so I'm extremely excited to see what is coming up next.
So ahead of your casting, I think it would also be really nice to talk about the fact that if you guys maybe have any favorites coming into here, Flash Wolves yesterday had a really solid performance in this lower bracket there. No strangers to being with their backs against the walls, where coming in with, oh, we already crushed a key. We've had a really good experience here in the lower bracket. But Twisted Minds, this is their first time here in the crocodile pond.
I know Clement is very biased for one of these two teams, so as always, I'm going to be confrontational, and I'm going to root for Twisted Minds. I think they have, on paper, a very, very solid roster. Just the pedigree individually is absolutely insane from CNTFT. I'm going to go with Twisted Minds.
They had very different stories getting here. Yesterday, Flash Wolves was able to cruise through their series, while Twisted Minds, I think they might be in a little bit of shell shock. They dropped 0-2 to Citadel Gaming, and the best placement they got was 5th. So they're going back to the drawing board to see if they can gin up a new strategy.
Yeah, and with Flash Wolves being very confident after yesterday's game, we're going to see whether or not that is something that they're looking to carry in today with the pre-game interview.
What's up, everybody? It's Puckett and Jin, our translator, and we've got Haruru from the Flash Wolves, one of my favorite players, of course. Day 1, you played Twisted Minds, but at the end, they walked away with the victory. What are you going to do differently today?
就第一天你们已经对战了 Twisted Minds 3队，然后呢，但是离胜利咫尺之遥嘛，就想问你，这次重新对战 Twisted Minds， 你们将做出什么样的调整呢？
第一天比赛当然比较紧张。那经过昨天比赛，我们以2-0拿下，那他们被2-0，所以我想气势上来说，我们的气势绝对是胜过他们的。
Well, it was unfortunately a very close loss the last time, but yesterday we bounced back. We had a 2-0 victory, whereas for Twisted Minds they had a 0-2 loss. So I think in terms of just team morale, I think we are absolutely on top. And I think this might be the X factor that allows us to win today.
Haruru, like yourself, I have some gray hairs, and chat was complimenting yours. Do you think this makes us wiser or just better than the competition?
主持人说他跟你一样，也是已经有很多白发了，就想问你，这个白发是因为你们就是智慧更高一点，所以呢，容易长白发，还是因为长得太帅，要均衡一下？
其实白发是因为其实我已经超过35岁，就是年龄越大，当然智慧越多嘛。对。
Well, I am over 35 years old now, and the older you get, the wiser you are. So gray hairs are a natural thing.
Big brains win championships. They're gonna do it. I believe it. Good luck.
Okay.
Flash Wolves are very confident heading into this matchup against Twisted Minds. Both of these team titans in their own right, considering how the game went last time, Hoopsan. I mean, this is a treat.
Yeah, totally treat. And this is an amazing game. Once again, the possibility to crush a key. And Twisted Minds, for me, pedigree. As Panda was saying, they have Zunge, winning Dragonlance, the champion of Dragonlance in this case, Alan. And I really think this team has a lot to offer. I really want to see them perform. And I want to have as hype game as we have on day 1, the rematch once again. And for me, Twisted Mind is the favorite.
Absolutely, Hooper. But after seeing yesterday's performance from Flash Wolves, normally I would be behind Twisted Minds and winning out the whole series, but seeing how well coordinated the Flash Wolves was yesterday on their series, I must be behind them, even though Twisted Minds has way more star players, but I'm kind of worried for their team play.
You know what? I actually really like this because now there is a little bit of a differentiation on the desk. We got Twisted Minds, we got Flash Wolves, so whichever team loses is going to be able to blame at least one of you guys, which is, you know, looking forward to that. But it's also really important to keep into consideration when we are looking at Twisted Minds here, Hoope, is the fact that this team is currently top 5 for that club championship point running as well. VP has already made it through, so they are at least getting a couple of points because they are top 8. But Twisted Minds, this is their chance really to carry that organization even a little bit further.
Yeah, on the other top 5, Falcon, Team Liquid, Vitality, they already dropped. So this is the chance both for Virtus.pro that you just mentioned, and now also here for Twisted Mind to get a chance to pop off and have maybe another win, maybe pop off, because last year we know Falcons win it, the club championship very, very far ahead, and now we have 5 teams very close to each other. So I really, really think this is a good chance, and as we know, TFT, as the same of other games, you win, you get 1,000 points for that club championship, more than $20 million only in that segment.
Yeah, and as a Twisted Mind fan here, you know, Alan, I'm going to have to ask you to maybe single out 1 or 2 players. I know Flancy was the one that really brought the heat when it was against Flash Wolves last time. Are you expecting him to do that again?
Absolutely. Zunch, Flancy are the star players. They perform extremely well under the heat for past sets, not just 1, 2, but like I can't even remember how long are they playing. They are here like feels like forever. And they will bring the trouble. We've seen on the last series between the Flash Wolves and Twisted Mind, where they had that nickel pretty much of the clutching up factor that might be due to just the player experience, and Flash Wolves perhaps under the pressure, because again, when you play against underdogs, you feel way more confident, but when you're playing into the All-Stars team, obviously you'll feel more pressure on you and you are more inclined to do mistakes.
Also, I want to highlight the coach, AQ1H, probably the best one in Cyber City Tactician Crown, the previous one. He went second, but only in points he was first because of checkmate format. So this is a guy that is behind all of these players, and it shows. We see more tempo play. We see them playing amazing every stage of the game, and it's not just going for the Hail Mary, do economy, and go fast 9, go fast 8, try to do something. There's always a plan, and they see themselves very, very comfortable in any spot. You mentioned it yesterday. Flash Group doing amazing. So they're in the open run, but for me, once again, Twisted Mind, my favorite.
All right, when it comes to Flash Wolves, we've seen them perform yesterday as well, and they were really, really great, coming through with some incredible team play here. Is that the strength that we are expecting from them, or are there also individual elements that you're looking are going to be stepping up to the plate today?
You can clearly tell they sit down at the drawing board and they did their homework. I don't know if we can tell the same about Twisted Minds, because they went 0-2 after the day 1, and where the Flash Wolves actually managed to lock in and get their heads into the game.
Yeah, they also have the star player, right? Ironbog, he's just so many accolades, 2 times in the World Championship, in the Sex Championship, and he's like the leader for the team, and we see it. Normally they're looking at him. Anytime he loses, everyone is perfect because he's talking to everyone. He's been the strategist. So I really think both teams are great, and I'm really hoping for a serious match here.
Yeah, it definitely should be hype, and it should be very serious. And I think as well, like, we have to touch upon the Flash Wolves here too, in terms of the fact that they are coming in with a lot more momentum, as you touched upon.
It would be interesting to talk about the strategy for a moment for both teams. We've seen Flash Wolves going a bit on the greedier side on the yesterday, and it's working perfectly for them against Fnatic. Curious if they're gonna do the same strategy today against Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds plays more of a balanced TFT, as we've seen, based on what they get, where we've seen a bunch of teams going super aggro, some of them going super greedy as Flash Wolves, and we'll see how that strategy turns out against the Twisted Minds.
Yeah, it could go either way. As you said, the tempo play, the strong army in the beginning is amazing. You preserve HP, but then if you're not able to manage to give that HP to the rest, it doesn't work for anything. Team Liquid, for example, they lost and they were doing that type of play, but you need to have the win-out player. If you only play tempo, then you just fall down in the end. So I really want to see one GP player, one X Factor, drop in the game for sure, probably Ironbog, and then try to switch the game on their favor.
Yeah, but as we've seen, one win-out player is sometimes not enough. You might need to have at least one more player that is able to go top 4, top 3, because if there is a chance that 2 of the players will go either 8-7, 8-6, you still need to score that 1-3 placements.
Oof, this is very back and forth in terms of which team is going to be able to take it away. But if you guys want to chime in on the discussion as well, you can scan the QR code and join the Discord and let us know. Quick predictions here. I think we already touched upon, you know, Twisted Minds, Flash Wolves. We have a favorite in each camp. But are we thinking this is going to go all the way to that third match?
Jeannie, this is the long day. So we have to have tough damages 2-1. And I think once again, this will be 2-1 Twisted Mind. And we will see Ahao and Xunghe making the best out of them.
I'll keep it short. 2-1 Flash Wolves.
2-1 Flash Wolves. You guys heard it here, but Twisted Minds are also in the running for the club championship point, not just the placements here for TFT. Both of these teams have already had one match, which was down to the absolute wire, even in that third matchup. But whether or not we're going to see a rewriting of history with Flash Wolves getting knocked out, that is something that remains to be answered. Keys are on the line, club championship points are on the line, and playoffs too. So let's get into it.
We've witnessed the wonders of victory here twice today at the Esports World Cup for TFT. But on the flip side, the pain of defeat hits like no other. As you can see, two keys that have been crushed here today, that have become victim to our key crusher, Mouse, who just dropped out, and Team Vitality, one of the favorites to go all the way here, is gone too. It just goes to show that nobody is safe. Thank you, Keymaster.
Nobody is safe indeed, Chambers. Nothing is granted. Everything is earned here at the Esports World Cup. Emotions running high, time slipping away, but we keep powering through. Because this next series, ooh baby, it's a certified banger. So you better strap in, because here we go.
Okay, baby, let's do this. Let's bring out the next team. Twisted Minds! After an upset against the NA representatives, it's now or never for the hometown heroes here in Riyadh. And of course, they are very, very reliant on valuable club championship points too. The pressure is on.
Underdogs, but can they become title contenders? Welcome, Flash Wolves! The APAC representative has been here before. 4 HP stood between them and a win against the Twisted Minds. Is this where they turn the tide, or will they be swept in a twisted tsunami? One more key to be crushed. Casters, whose will it be?
Thank you so much. We're ready to go for this series number 3 of day number 3. And Petrus Panda joined by Clement for the cast for this spectacular series coming up, Flash Wolves versus Twisted Minds. Great players, great individual pedigree when it comes to international individual TFT at TAC rounds, especially as was mentioned on the analyst desk. Xunghe, a past winner. Ironbog, a past 2-time regional winner in APAC. So much at stake though, as a team, as a group, in a 4v4 format.
Yeah, and this matchup is going to be wildly different from the other ones that we've seen today. Just to draw contrast, Mao's was the most structured team. They had the most cemented roles for each. However, when we look at a team like Flash Wolves, they have 2 X-Factor players. You never know what they're going to go on. They're probably too free-flowing to a fault, perhaps, especially going up against Twisted Mind. And meanwhile, Twisted Mind, I also think that they're trying to redefine themselves. They had a shellacking versus Citadel Gaming. They wanted to play a slow, fast 8 game and were ran out the gym by the much higher tempo strategy of Citadel, and we could see them adjusting already in game 2, trying to find a new way to face tougher opponents.
And the thing with this format and with this tournament is that there's so little time to put in real meaningful reps on 4v4, especially when it comes to the start of a set. We are, what, 2 weeks into the start of set 15? There is so much still to learn and to adapt to, whereas usually individual TFT, especially at the end of a set in TAC round, it's also established, it's also studied and researched already. There's very little room for adaptation, there's very little room for creativity. It's the complete opposite here today.
Yeah, just to go back into the series that these two teams fought against each other. I actually felt like Twisted Minds was in control for the majority of the games. What did happen though was we saw K-Ball just keep on pulling Gwen 2s on level 8 with tremendous artifacts, disgusting combinations, and then saving the game for them. He had a 1.5 AVP in that series. It was well deserved, but you just look at that series and you feel like that can't keep happening.
And this is part of the format in terms of identifying win conditions, knowing that this artifact with this champion, if the high roll presents itself and I'm prepared for it, that can be decisive to win an entire series and to maybe erase a lot of the hard work, a lot of the strategic game plans that are made by both teams coming into stage 2, stage 3, etc. So we'll see what players are aware of all the, because there's so many different conditions that can be met. Not just Gwen and artifacts, there's other champions as well that get completely broken when they have a certain specific combination.
That's something that Twisted Minds will have to figure out currently. They're still in the running, but they have the lowest first place rate out of any of the remaining teams. Only went first once in their 5 games in total. So identifying that win-out player, getting those conditions online is going to be critical for them.
I think Twisted Minds also has a very strong knowledge of text. They have a great coaching team behind them as well. They have a great understanding already, even if we're early into a set, of all the different broken interactions that they can try and fish for. But I'm really excited to see the tempo. I think when you talk about it the most, it's a big contrast to last series where it seems like everything was much more structured. We are expecting a wild rodeo in this first game. Twisted Fate is going to add 2 component anvils to the mix, allowing reroll players to hit their bits a little bit easier. 4-cost players as well, when hunting for those perfect Karma items, will also have a chance to find them earlier into the game.
Yep, we've seen this encounter many times throughout the tournament already. It always serves more into a quick tempo, very, very contested stage 2 and stage 3 so far that we've seen in our games. Now taking a look at the players here, CHÂN, he is known as the most handsome player out of the TOC, so this is a chance to get your gaze upon his visage.
Is that a common opinion or is that a...
That's a very common opinion.
General
he is
opinion.
Married though, so
I see. Our fans are weeping. Looking at the rest of the players, though, I mean, we have to single out Shunga, I think, as was mentioned, the Dragonlance champion in the Tactician's Crown a few sets ago now at this point, almost halfway down the history of TFT when it comes to competition. And Flancy as well, someone that is just historically been one of those players that if you ask anyone that's even slightly a fan of esports in TFT, they know the name Flancy from CN. He's kind of one of those names like 61, like Volta, that has been around for so long and has been showcasing such dominant peaks when it comes to individual TFT.
The veterancy really is there for Twisted Mind. Going back a little bit for Flancy, the player on our screen right now, he is the revolutionizer in terms of using stats when it comes to the CN region. So he had his best individual showing in Monsters Attack, which was exactly when big data was coming online. He was the first to kind of jump on that ship and prove everyone wrong. CN used to be the dynasty. They thought stats was because they don't have stats of their own CN region. They didn't really believe in stats. Flancy was the first adopter, and he's proven again and again through his individual performance that was indeed the correct route for the region.
And then America's, they definitely use a lot of stats in their reign of terror, but no more augment stats in TFT. Players have to rely a bit more on intuition, which I think a lot of top players do enjoy more because of how creative they can get and how good their understanding is in terms of critical thinking and really piecing together all the pieces of the puzzle when it comes to the start of a set and quickly identifying the most broken combos, the strongest ways to play certain lines, the best ways to lean into a line where you're playing from high tempo.
We're talking about intuitive players. K-Ball and Ironbog are definitely both in that category. They definitely, we definitely use stat work. They usually leave it to the coaches to kind of figure them out, but the way they like to play is they're completely flexed until level 8. And I've always thought that was actually a bit of a weakness when it comes to 4v4. It's harder to optimize your items early on. It's harder for your teammates to know how to play around you.
Looking at Rising Chaos for Flancy, 2 Cinders as well. This is one of the strongest ways to play into the Prodigy line, sometimes even into just the Sork line, depending on what your augments are, where your line is going, where your teammate spots are as well. But as a 1-cost item carrier in Stage 2, this is one of the premium combinations to be made aware of.
If you have a good front line, you can just keep on stacking damage. It's 6% extra damage. After every cast, you get additional orbs. It procs really good with things like Blighting Jewel as well. So you will see a lot of players going into this start and then playing towards the AP Fast 8s.
No Vi being held there. It goes to show the cash out trade not really as enticing in 4v4 or maybe in the set as a whole, considering in the past, if you had one Crystal Gambit unit, you'd almost always buy a second in your shop to try and play for it.
And we're going to have Ironbog already starting with the Caretakers. YYDM is the team's designated reroller. So 2 very high tempo options straight off the bat. And as we were talking about, this is additional component encounter. So it's much easier to get those 3-cost carries online and just punch through everyone.
Beggars Can Be Choosers was a consideration for Flancy for a little while. Of course, when we're talking about understanding the really strong augments, having so many more roles to fish for, that perfect augment to fit your game plan is valuable, especially for players as skilled as this. But we are looking at YYDM with a Gangplank 2 on stage 2. Not game-winning, but it's an incredibly dominant start that's going to apply a lot of pressure onto every other player in this lobby.
So he hit 2 Gangplanks, and I think he used Team Builder immediately to get into that 2-star. You know, definitely worthwhile to sink a little bit into that augment straight off the bat, and he's going to go for the full win streak. This also allows him to pivot to the all-out composition as well, so he's still staying rather flexible here. And actually, he still has 2 duplicators. That might be a delay, sorry. So I'm pretty sure he used at least 1.
One interesting consideration is one of the saving graces of this Twisted Fate encounter where you get 2 component anvils is the fact that if you're in a spot like this one where you can play for tempo Gangplank and farm infinite gold by having a 2-star Gangplank in stage 2, the one downside is you don't have priority on Carousel to pick up your bows for a Rage Blade, for a Kraken's Fury. In this case, he didn't prio looking for bows from his component anvils, which means he might have a problem. For now, i.e. Striker's Flow will be very strong, of course, but if he does win streak, if he wins every fight in stage 2, I assume Twisted Minds will completely lock him out of finding any bows from carousels, and he might not end up on that best in slot, stretchy arms Gangplank build with so many bows.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting thing to see. You could play around that as a team. Maybe some of them can try to deny items on the carousel if you have loose streakers. Or the other thing that I kind of think is a possibility is just for him to simply play into all out. He has the perfect items for it starting off. Looking across the board here, CHÂN is most likely going into the crew build, already has all of those units on board, and I had a glimpse of a very interesting augment being selected here. Ahau going into the Unstable Evolution. Ooh, we haven't really seen this one work out so far in the tournament.
An Unstable Evolution, correct me if I'm wrong, gives you different stats every time you start up a unit, and it gives you kind of, if you're starting up a lot of units, obviously that's going to be a lot of insane power coming into your stats, but you can't really tailor or pick exactly what you're going to be getting. So you do have to pick carries that can make use of many different types of stats, not just, you know, AP or AD or attack speed.
It's just really interesting to me because we haven't seen one-cost rerolls actually take off in this meta whatsoever. Kale was probably the front runner in that category. Average is still about at like a 6.8, which is not something we want to look for. Very curious to see where that goes. For Ironbog, it does look like this is going to be a Caretakers into a Vi 3, so he's already setting himself up. We have seen Juggernaut frontline just be incredibly flexible in terms of comps and in terms of tempo.
We haven't seen much Kai'Sa reroll today. Maybe this is the game to play for it. Obviously, you have to have an early Kai'Sa and hopefully have some items stacked onto her so she can scale. If she doesn't scale appropriately in stage 2 and 3, you can kind of tell how far she will be scaling in stage 4. You can give up on her, go from the more traditional Mundo with the Jhin and the Gnar.
There is also this line where it's possible to get Knuckle Dusters on 3-2. That would be kind of broken if it does happen. I know you've been a huge fan of that augment.
I have been rewarded on ladder on my own climb with the Knuckle Dusters Vi. It just feels very strong from a snowball position. It kind of works similarly to GP, but instead of just getting gold, you're able to get additional loot, and that just continues snowballing your game more and more. You can play into kind of an Ashe duelist back then as well, so I think it's a very interesting line. We'll see if that'll be a possibility for Ironbog in this game number 1.
And we're finally getting a look at all the boards across the table right here. Xunge already starting off with the Gwinsus here, so he's most likely going to be the player contesting on the GP line against YYDM here. A very strong start for YYDM, still 100 HP. Finds the Udyr as well for actually 3 traits to put on his board. The best find he could possibly get.
Really, really insane setup here. Has the Lux online as well, has the Lucian, so some extra damage off of the Sork on Lucian as a secondary damage leader just in case. We saw a good for something for Kebabao, so playing more of the Econ, fast 8s line into Sorks or into Prodigies. And that's the game plan that we have seen many players find success with in the case of someone like Salvi, for example. But it is the risky game plan where you are going down and you're at the mercy of your roll down when it comes to stage 4.
Oh, talking about having mercy on roll downs, Flancy just hit a Yuumi on level 5. So, you know, I think he has his path set quite ahead. And is that a Jarvan? He has some pretty sick units right now.
The Yuumi especially is going to be very, very impactful in terms of having just way more of your vertical prodigy while still having the 3 Battle Academy online onto your board. And just, yeah, the early direction, it's going to be so easy to play into that Yuumi now.
We thought Flancy's board was ridiculous.
A Karma as well. Oh my goodness.
He's getting this full set, the Jarvan and Karma in the same composition.
This is the value of Silver Spoon. You're reaching your 2% chance to find a 4 cost a little bit earlier in the game.
And he's playing the Mundo 2, which I believe is correct for if he wants the full win streak.
Jarvan is more of an off tank. So when you are looking at very low DPS and just one sturdy tank to rule them all, Mundo is usually the answer when it comes to stage 2. We'll see if he can hang up against this crit build on GP. The stun comes through. Gangplank is getting kind of low. The Senna damage is coming in, or the Kalista damage rather, but I think Gangplank is definitely going to clean up here. So much gold being farmed as well.
Yeah, I think even though Haruru did lose the win streak, Flash Wolves can't be too sad about that one. They farmed the extra gold, and I was looking at the shop items, and I don't know how, but we still have 2 unused duplicators from YYPN.
So he just hit a natural Gangplank, it must have been.
Yeah.
He must have had 2. He picked the team builder with the idea of, oh, perfect, I'm going to have a great tempo option here, and he hit the next 3rd natural Gangplank in that same 2-1 shop.
Wow.
So maybe that changes the way he picks his augments, because the big value of team builder in that situation would have been to immediately get the Gangplank 2, but he got it anyway. And now he has kind of 2 dead duplicators on bench for all of stage 2 and 3, but he has a Gangplank 2, so I think that kind of lets him wipe away his tears.
Yeah, that's actually pretty crazy of a start, and I wonder how Shunga is going to play around that, because we did see him have the components for the Guinsus. He's the most likely player to have to contest. We know in this meta you can't allow the GPs to play solo. That's just too big of a risk for a win-out player emerging on the opponent team. So how do you play when you're so far behind in copies? That's going to be a very interesting solve for Twisted Minds.
The Syndra 2 has been found for Kebaba. I think he's definitely gearing up to play into Yuumi. Of course, with one Yuumi already being out of the pool, a little bit sad, but we have Haruru already with an early Karma, which I think gives him the direction and the prio on playing Sorks.
Absolutely. He probably does have to avoid his teammate and also avoid what Flancy has hit already. CHÂN here, we're wondering if he's going to go for his roll down. If you want to play the crew, this is when you would want to do it. And he's keeping himself rather flexible. He's willing to go to level 5 on high experience.
Is there any consideration for Gangplank? I mean, don't you just buy the second one and then see what your next natural shop is, just in case you have 2 more Gangplanks and you just full pivot? You must,
you have
no?
to, right?
You must.
Yeah. I totally agree with that call. CHÂN, come on, sell something on your board.
You can sell a Kaisa, or maybe he's keeping Kaisa as that plan B option, but no,
he
gives up on the Gangplank, does not want to keep himself open to that potential high roll, or just a potential augment that really leads into it. What if he gets Teacher's Council, for example?
Well, that's possible. I also think it's probably indicates that Shunga is going to be the designated GP player on the other side of the team, so he's not trying to give himself Silver Destiny. Any Rebanov fans out there?
We have had some big low rolls. Have players learned from these teachings? It's going to be keepers for Shunga, and Shunga is not on GP. He is going to be rolling for either Kaisa, it looks like, or for Jin. He has prep, so I think the front line is clear. Going to be playing for Mundo, but his backline still keeping a few options open, just in case he hits some high roll shops.
And that does mean that Ahao A might be the one that has to play the GP. I would be very, very surprised if Twisted Mind just decides to not play GP. To be fair, we have seen this happen in previous games. Sometimes it can be a trap to over-roll for the GP, but at least in my meta understanding, I'm not willing to do that.
It looks like Ironbog will be the Kaisa reroll player for Flash Wolves, which is why we're seeing so many Kaisas being held both on Chunga's board and on CHÄN's board.
Oh, the Kaisa board is very interesting. So far, we have Aegis that have been successful on the composition, but everyone else sometimes falters around. We have seen it spike really hard if you manage to find the Supreme Cell emblem and just get it onto the all-out comp. You kind of bridge those 2 compositions together. That might be a possible out. But so far in the tournament, outside of very specific conditions, not the strongest comp we've seen.
I believe for Haruru, we might have seen a recombobulator. We have. And for good reason. We had 4 costs already on the board. We have found a Juggernaut in Lee Sin to add to this board. Did he sell the Karma? Considering he looked like he had more of an 80 path off of his item components at Krugs. And he would have been able to maybe potentially recombobulate 2 4 costs into 2 5 costs, but it seems like it's only 1 here.
Yeah, this has to feel so bad for Shunga because Shunga actually took rolling for days and he didn't hit the Jin 2. Now this player just recombobbed his Callisto straight into the Jin 2 here. So sorry, it wasn't rolling for days, but you know he rolled very, very deep down to below 10 gold and not finding the carry while someone else has just gifted it.
And Ahau seems to be locked into Katarina, so overall a lot of reroll in this lobby. Even a player who was given a Jarvan and an early Karma that we thought would maybe go into Sorks has instead pivoted into this AD reroll, which has really, I think, been the big evolution this tournament in terms of Stage 3. A lot more teams are identifying, hey, who is the key path, the key way to preserve HP in Stage 3? It's usually Mundo, and they're starting to play a lot more Jin reroll, a lot more Kai'Sa reroll as well.
I think this is what Twisted Mind had to take away from their shellacking against Citadel yesterday, because they lost to a lot of Mundo boards that stabilized from Dank Memes into Soul Fighters, into Legendaries. It was a shocking lesson for them, and take a look at YYDM, he's now up to 3 duplicators, so that might be one of the reasons why we see Twisted Minds just completely forego the GP contest.
Any GP players? There's a Rise with a bow, but I don't know if there are any GP players left in this lobby, weirdly enough.
Is this the lowest amount of GPs we've
I mean, YYDM is still carrying GP, but I'm not sure if he's going to stick to GP in this consideration.
Oh, come on. If it's open GP, you have to play it,
He
right?
must have, right?
Yeah. It's probably in his contract, so.
And it is being held, so I mean, someone is playing it for sure on Flash Wolves.
Yeah, Acha not going to let that run away. He is committed to the crew at this point, and this is kind of interesting. We have seen some players decide not to roll too deep on level 4, and the theory is being that you actually want maximum amount of gold into this composition just to hit 2 of your crew units to 3-star as soon as possible.
You can also, I think, hit more of the 2 costs, a little bit more likely when you're playing the crew, and you end up becoming the ultimate griefer. You have so many rolls every turn for free as well. You have, maybe if you have the bench space, you can start holding a lot of the GPs, a lot of the Kai'Sas, the Jins, the Mundos, deny from the opposing team.
All right, and taking a look right here, he's 2 GPs off of just getting GP 3. Has been able to find at least 1 bow item. That was one of the big things that we were kind of worried about for his composition. And he's also doing a very good deny on Ahawe's board, 5 Katarinas onto the bench.
And also a perfect crit build for the future Yasuo as well, with IE, Strikers, and Hodge. So if he's able to find the Rage Blade, he's going to have best in-slot items for Yasuo and for Gangplank. What a win here, the Kale just barely surviving on her Ascended version on level 6.
Yeah, just 1 extra hit would have been enough to break that 8 win streak. And now he gets a second power up and a rejuice again.
He must roll here, no, for the GP3, considering he is on a 9 win streak. You want to really get this extra win streak gold. You want to continue preserving HP here. Unless he has only his teammates in his pool, then maybe considers that he can beat it out.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only reason you don't just hunt for the GP3 at this point. He's already found the Rise as well on level 6, so quite a considerable high roll from YYDM. And this is what we've seen all tournament. There usually is that one player that just somehow is very far ahead in the GP counts, and the other team has to play around that. It's incredibly difficult, and if I'm being fair, it's very rare to see teams overcome it.
Opts not to roll for it, ends up only being a 2-star Gangplank. Does he get punished? Does he lose the win streak is the big question. He is facing someone from Flash Wolves as well, so maybe just wants to deal less damage. It looks like it will still be a win regardless up against this Kai'Sa board from Ironbog. So great strategy for now from YYDM.
On the flip side though, even though it's good to have streaks, maybe K-Balbo's streaks is a little too much. 26 HP, 10 loss streak going all the way up. We're gonna have to see where he's gonna land in this composition.
A lot of gold to work with though. We're already level 8, 30 gold, rolling here. Gonna get a bit of a rejuice also from the creep round. There's the first of the Karmas.
Oh, finds one. Okay, so this is probably why we saw Haruru being willing to recombobulate his Jarvan and Karma. It's very rare to find players that are willing to move off of the perfect Sork spot, but K-Ball, they want to save that spot for him. They know a full loss streaker. The best comp to go into we've seen so far in this tournament has been that Sorks.
We'll see the last bit of the roll down for K-Ball. We'll see if he hits the Karma. 2 is going to be the big stabilization point alongside maybe some extra frontline for Flancy. Also rolling on 8 for the same exact board. Not a single copy of Karma has been found yet. Just as K-Ball upgrades his own Karma to 2 stars. So a big disparity in HP between these players, yes, but also in current board strength with K-Ball finding his key upgrade.
Oh, and these are those pivoted moments.
The front line is very weak though for K-Ball. I'm a bit scared because you can have all the damage you want, that if you don't have just a little bit of time to buy for the Karma to burst the enemy board, you could be in trouble.
Yeah, I wish he really would send that Rise into the front line. Usually what happens in the composition, he does have strategists from Jarvan as well, so just get that extra 300 shielding onto the map.
This Karma walk-up is a bit dangerous potentially if the Jhin is able to kill this Jarvan and then target onto the Karma, but it looks like Mundo will be dying here before the Jhin can fully clear the Karma. And it will be a necessary stabilization for K-Ball. Ends the 10 loss streak.
And CHÄN is continuing to free fall here, already on a 2 loss streak, down to 29 HP. Oh, invested. This could be Prismatics. There's a lot of things that could save these players. We're thinking about things like max cap, like invested coming in.
I saw the Call to Chaos, and I'm thinking about only one thing, Clemens. Sniper's Focus cash outs.
That is the save. You get a 10% chance to hit triple snipers, and if you do get that, find a Gwen, you're pretty much locked.
Or a Yasuo. We saw it pop off. I think it was exactly YYDM that was sporting it to great results yesterday.
True, I honestly think that interaction's a little bit too easy. You always remember, it's only a 10% chance, even if you take the Call to Chaos, but you remember every time it happens to you.
There's a Gangplank 3 from YYDM. Is this going to be a Mr. 100 game? I think no, because in 4v4, if you have so much HP, you want to use it as a resource. You want to sack for your teammates especially. But what a dominant start to this series, really, with YYDM and his 100 HP right now.
We're going to get the answer to what Flancy picks up here. It is going to be a Sork +1 emblem. I usually am not a huge fan of the emblems this late, but it is very good on Jarvan. He has a great AP ratio. Still not going to stabilize him.
There's GP clearing out the board. And we're seeing some pretty big disparities in the HP brackets. Looking at the augments on that left-hand side, we're seeing a few Radiant Refractors, especially Bronze for Life for Haruru as well.
This was the save I was talking about. 2 max caps coming in for Twisted Minds. They were already bleeding a lot of HP despite playing 2-cost reroll compositions, and I was like, what would be the save for 4-2 Prismatics? And they did find the answer to it. So let's see if they can hit those Katarina 3s despite how hard they've been denied. Oh, does have 3 crew in. 3 crew is usually the most important breakpoint because it is when you do get the orbital ship online.
One off the Rakan here as well. Yuumi pair, Leona 2 already as well, on level 6. So, I mean, all that gold has come into good use. We don't have quite best in slot items just yet on the Katarina, but it should be strong enough to get a lot of wins across this next stage. We're seeing a Volibear setup here from Haruru on the opposing side.
59 HP. This looks like he's going to be in a brawler position. You don't really expect this composition to carry through into a first place, but you already have win-out players. K-Ball, YYDM, very strong win-out, so he's just playing to preserve and maybe get a top 4. Great save for Ahawe, though. I was looking at the deny on YYDM. High AS HP, 12 win streak. If you have a lobby leader holding all of those Katarinas, you usually cannot get them back.
Yep. Spatula on the stage for Carousel. A few key 5-costs as well. Seraphine for the Prodigy players and Braum here as well, just to fit in, especially if you're in a position to go 9 and you have that slot open in the Sork board.
Yeah, a bit of a miss for CHÄN. He really wanted to get that Twisted Fate. That would have been a best find in the 5-cost territory. Doesn't get one here. And meanwhile, looking at K-Ball, he already has a Radiant item for 4-2, so despite that 10 loss streak early on, he is in a very strong position to carry through as a win-out.
Flancy does seem to have almost fully stabilized. Very strong front line with the Sork Jarvan with this fully itemized Swain. No Gwen high rolls, that's the big question still. And obviously missing that Karma upgrade as well.
Yeah, he does have a lot of HP.
There's the Gwen.
With.
You have a gold Regis from selling the Ahri. If you want to sell the Ahri here, I think you have to, right? At this point in time.
No,
there is
Ahri too. Yeah, I'd sell it.
There is more burst damage if you're trying to take down a main tank and have the chain from Karma come through. Especially with Gwen has no items, right? That's the big thing. All the items are in Swain for now, secondary sets. But overall, I think Gwen is Gwen. So.
Okay, taking a look at YYDM here, he might be losing his Mr. 100 streak. Fun fact, he's actually the only player in TAC rounds to have won a game at 100 HP. He did so at set 12 with the hero augments. It was not that fun, to be honest, because it was an artifact into Lilia. Yeah, pretty crazy. And is going to stack for his teammates, I believe. It would be tragic if he removed and still won. I think he won.
There is some delay on the HUD, but that's the 13 win streak for now for YYDM. Shunga also being taken down by his own teammate, by Ahao.
Oh, okay. Never mind. It was a delay. You're right. You're right.
It was a loss there. 86 HP now still, though. So much HP preservation having been done for his team off of the early GP. Bao as well, the player we always talk about. If Bao is able to stabilize and then take over, he can then become a very important part of the team as well. Ziggs 3 has been found for A10, where when he needed it most, right? He's currently sitting at 8 HP on his last line, potentially.
He also got the 1% Twisted Fate in the previous shop, so that's a pretty big find. A great roll down for him. This might be the journey for the comeback, but it has to happen now. 8 HP.
Shunga did not weaken his board, it looked like. Full items on Mundo and on Jin. They're fully prepped. Not Mundo 3 just yet. Is this crew board strong enough to beat this?
I think it should be, with the additional true damage coming in with Twisted Fate. 4-6 Twisted Fate, and relatively.
The Radiant Crown Guard. Getting the AP ratio on the heal. The Jin is healing the Mundo as well, but it looks like he is finally going to be going down to all the ship damage coming through, and it will be a win and a survival for A10.
Yeah, I think this is what Twisted Mind really wanted. If I'm looking at Shingo's spot, he probably has the worst spot currently in the lobby. He's very far away from Jin 3, and you can kind of tell that he's just sacking for the team at this point. He's holding a lot of the GP stabilization and also holding Iron Bogs Kai'Sa's as well. I think he understands that it's just not possible for him to continue on much more in this game.
And now in the PvP phase, I think it's important to state, sometimes it is correct for one of your teammates to eliminate you in stage 4, in stage 5. If keeping you with life has less value than keeping a better or a stronger teammate healthy for the final race when it comes to the top 4s, when it comes to that 4th or 5th place position. We've seen sometimes eliminations happen where you think it's a mistake, that you didn't remove items or you didn't waste one of their movers for that life save, but sometimes it can be correct.
Yeah, I think a lot of situations, like Twisted Mind should not try to grief for Shinga, because there's just no cap left into this composition, so that's also another consideration. Yeah, he's just straight leveling, trying to tempo this out. This was what Dank Memes did so well yesterday as well, but I think the key thing is it just missed out on the Jin. Rolling to 10, not hitting Jin 2, that just closes your options.
Puts you far behind on making to 8, on trying to play for that tempo with Volibear 2. If you get an early and a high roll down, you can go past 9, for example, and play for the real cap with the TFs, with the Lee Sins, with the Brahms as well.
And the culprit is sitting, in the opposite side of the screen there. It was that Haruru Recombob into Jin 2 that did lower the chances here. Oh, we do have Serious Slam into the backline. If he hits the right target, this could be it for A10.
Stuck on the Malphite for now, buying so much time. Samira is trying to help, but Volibear is being taken down. Samira's all by herself, and Rise with the water gun is not going to be impactful enough to win that fight.
Oh, that was so very close. Sometimes if you manage to trap the pathway towards the main tank, you can get that Serious Slam directly into the backline. Didn't happen right there. And as we were seeing, Shinga, as we expected, is going to go into the bottom. But K-Ball also takes a big loss. 2
losses now. He was at 26 HP, has now dropped down to just 2. Might need to have a lifesaver thrown at him from his team as well. This is where it matters most. This is where trying to index into saving your teammate is so impactful. From going from an 8th to a 6th, for example, can be game-winning when it comes to the total addition of the points.
Yeah, 2 points could mean everything here. If you get that 6th place, it could mean that you're forcing the opponent to go 1-3. It just opens up so many more avenues. So we do have Twisted Minds on the right side, and the more important fight on the left side between K-Bao and Shinga. K-Bao with that Radiant item Karma 2, I do think is favored in this matchup, and we just see the discs of death flowing through the composition.
A clean wipe No declaw on the Mundo makes that fight very easy for K-Bao. On the flip side, Katarina items were removed, and it's still a fairly close fight. This Malphite's almost going down to the Yuumi, so I think it really goes to show that Ahao is just that much stronger than his teammate coming into this stage 5.
So unless Ironbog took a massive loss, it should be Shinga going 8th place. And yes, we do get the confirmation here. That means that most likely for Twisted Mind, if it's just a bottom 2, top 2 kind of situation, they do have to play for the win out. So that's going to be the most critical part for them going forward. And the rest of Ahao and Flancy have enough HP, I think, to avoid just getting blown out.
The big question is, where can Haru cap with his Volibear board? Can he cap any higher than just his fast A comp with Volibear with Samira? Has he done his job already? And also, YYDM, he's free falling. 100 HP now all the way down to 44.
Ooh, that is very surprising. Now, he did have a lobby leading 30 plus HP coming into stage 4, so I think there might have been a couple of games where he was just like, okay, I'll let you get the HP, like a fight we've seen right here. YYDM basically trading places with K-Bao. CHÂN finding another win and another round to power up that Twisted Fate.
It must have been also Flancy allowing his teammate to get the win there. There is a TF on the carousel, and of course, we have our crew player at the very bottom of the standing since the very beginning of the game. Haruru can deny, can also pick up a Sterax for his melee-based comp. And
I wonder if someone takes away that Executioner +1 for Ahao A. I think Ironbog has to do it. Yeah. So he can't use it on his composition, but he's not going to allow Ahao A to put that onto the Yuumi.
Could have maybe stutter step there, because it looks like the opposing team from Twisted Minds would have tried to get it anyway, kind of trick him into getting it in the end, but no. Ironbog ends up being the defender.
Yeah, Ahao is already the lobby leader, so he doesn't get to decide, but you can do what you were just mentioning. Have your teammates kind of mess up their minds a little bit, get something twisted minds.
We're seeing now the final roll down. Still an itemless Gwen 1 for K-Bao here. Maybe part of why he hasn't... Oh, no, he just removed 4 that last fight, I assume. It will be the Void Staff, the blue buff, and just a singular bow for now. Does have anti-heal on the Swain with the Sunfire Cape.
And I think the big thing for Flash Wolves is who can take out CHÂN. Taking out CHÂN in bot 4 removes a win-out player on the opponent's side. And I haven't seen a board that can really do it right now. None of these boards have that type of a cap to go through the Malphite. Oh, but he's running into a teammate right now. Oh, it's Ironbog, sorry. It's
Ironbog versus CHÂN. There's going to be a team kill on the left side. Hopefully not very big damage, but it will be a lot of units left alive there for CHÂN. We're seeing the crew units trying to win this one. Kaisa has one more cast in her. Does she win the fight? No, just barely loses to the last Silver cast.
And there's really tough losses coming in from Haruru.
Look at the HP totals, they're so close.
And suddenly the tables might have turned. CHÂN's already out of danger so far, and we have 2 Flash Wolves members in the bottom 4. If they both go out, it could still end up as a blowout win for Twisted Minds.
K-Bao without the Gwen too. He is level 9. He does have a Braum online already. He does have the chance to just find a few more shops, get the gold from the next PvE round, and then really hit that stride and potentially play for first place. But this matchup now is so important where he does not have those upgrades just yet, and he is facing off against Flancy. The Sork mirror on the left side.
Really good jump by the Jarvan straight off the bat here. I think that was Mana Rush, so he gets the 1.5 second off the bat and is able to take out the backline plus Gwen earlier. But Swain 2, oh, no damage left.
The chip damage coming onto the backline of the Karma, and Swain left alive all by herself. Kaisa needs to get the smallest of wins, if possible, against YYDM, and she does. So really big from Flash Wolves to have both of these players stay alive in that 1v1 matchup. CHÂN is out as well. If Flancy is sent into this bottom 4, that will be yet again another wrap for Flash Wolves taking this game 1.
So based on the fights, CHÂN actually got knocked out by Ahao A. Might have happened to a teammate. It's very hard to prevent just because Katarina can go into your backline. That's one of the worst matchups for the crew, but very unfortunate for Twisted Mind. That had to be a team kill.
In the best case scenario, Twisted Minds will need a 1 and 3 to win this match. If Flancy doesn't go out, of course, in this next round, that would just end it on the spot.
Yep, Flancy needs to make it to 3rd place at the very least right here. Jarvan 2 already being found, and I believe it was Mana Rush plus Efficient as the power-ups coming in for K-Bao.
And that is a best in slot power-ups. Very rare to find Mana Rush on Jarvan, only offered on 2 units in this set, on Zyra and on Jarvan. And incredibly strong. You start with full mana, so you immediately get a cast. You have a much higher chance of getting the second cast as well, with everyone being stunned for those first few seconds.
Yeah, what an amazing find. I wonder if he did tailor for that. Now he's going to run into his teammate, so this will be a team kill on the side of Flash Wolves. Meanwhile, we'll see if Flancy can stay alive here. Ironbog does hit the Kai'Sa 3.
Ironbog has to be the hero for Flash Wolves here. If he takes down Flancy, that is a game 1 win for Flash Wolves. Kai'Sa has one more cast in her, as does the last unit, but it's going to be Ironbog taking the win against Flancy there. An elimination here as well, which is the bigger loss.
And it is going to be Flancy going into the bottom 4. That is the blowout win coming in for Flash Wolves. Not really a blowout, it was extremely close until the very end, but just going by the definitions, that execution emblem actually made the difference right there. The extra damage for Akali was enough.
And it comes down to just one-upping your mirror match, and that's both of the Sorg players stabilizing Flancy and Kebaba with different HP totals coming into stage 4, but in the end, Kebaba just barely able to outplace Flancy in that Sorg 1v1, end up in the top 4, and secure the win for Flash Wolves. With 4 of their players in this top 4, YYDM was that tempo leader in the early game, 13 win streak to preserve so much total team HP as a whole, and Kebaba was that comeback player coming back from 26 HP into that top 4.
Really well played by Flash Wolves. We were talking about just how teams kind of adapt to the GP3 in a team leader situation. And what I think was really cool about this game was not only YYDM lending so much HP to the rest of the team, but also Haruru giving up his spot for K-Ball. K-Ball full loss streak. There's limited compositions that can stabilize you. He had the Jarvan and the Karma, and he said, no, I'm going to recombop into something else.
And Haru having to play essentially the content game, the streamer game of recombobbing and of trying to flex around the 5 you're given, of thinking he's playing into Juggernaut, then looking into playing into Volibear, into Samira, and just trying to make it work, playing kind of the X Factor line. But I think the big star of the show has to be Ironbog. Kai'Sa reroll, a comp we don't see played every game, a comp we don't see performing to such a high level in the top 2 here in game 1.
Yeah, and he didn't get Knuckle Dusters necessarily, but that was still a very scary Vi rushing across the map. We saw it was going, just from point to point, killing carries. He, of course, got it naturally with the Caretaker, so he had a very stable front line, and the Akali positioning at the end, that was what sealed the deal. If it was just front to back, I truly believe that Flancy would have taken that fight. But no, the extra Executioner emblem he denied, going up into it, doing a ton of work, just getting that damage threshold to secure the win.
Surely the Vi cannot 1v1 a Katarina and a Rakan 3. That would be absolute insanity. Maybe this is the new line to play on ladder, but it will be a loss there. Ahau, the dominant player in this game. Not enough, though, for his team. He was just 2 alone in this top 4. A strong initial showing from Flash Wolves in this series.
And I feel like Flash Wolves has just grown so much in the past 2 days. They were really in control in this game, in the driver's seat, mainly because of the GP. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. That definitely was a thing. But think about how high roll Twisted Minds had to get to this spot. They had to have 2 max caps to get their 3 stars. Without that max cap, I think Ahau dies almost instantly. The other thing was CHÄN actually getting the 1% Twisted Fate into the Ziggs 3 and still not being able to stabilize, actually getting team killed right there. Very unfortunate.
CHÄN really clutch as well, though. In all of stage 4, he was able to survive on just that 1 HP. A lot of great communication between the teams to weaken themselves, to remove items off Katarina, to allow him to continue scaling the crew and continue getting more reward from TF to try and maybe become that win-out player, as I said. But we'll hear more of an in-depth breakdown from our analyst desk now. Take it away, guys.
We will indeed. Welcome to the Analyst Desk. Flash Wolves here, starting things off very strong against Twisted Minds. Coupe, we said this was going to be a very close game. We were going to expect a lot of different things from both of these teams, and they're so far living up to the expectation.
Yeah, 100%. It was all decided in 1 round, actually. 6-1, 4 players with only 1 digit of HP. And the name of the game was the Gunplank once again for YYDM. Very, very early into the game. Pushing tempo vibes, if you will, and then he was able to give HP. We didn't saw it in the transmission, but I'm pretty sure he was just able to give HP to the rest of the lobby, and then in the end, that was worth it. 3 players of Twisted Minds in the bottom 5, so good win for Flash Wolves.
Absolutely, but let's break down YYDM's spot, why it was so good in the first play. Full upgraded board with GP, picking up the duplicators. So and after the cracks, he had 3 duplicators, GP2, just waiting for the roll down, and pretty much hitting it effortlessly. What's interesting, CHΑN had a really good spot to play GP. He had 2 GP already at the cracks, optional, and he opted to play still crew while having really good items. So he could have made Eon Rageblade and the Kraken, and he opted to go for reroll. Without max cap, he's guaranteed AF this spot. So just because the YYDM had such a good spot for GP, I think the Twisted Mind were scared to contest, and I think it was incorrect. You just contest there, and given you have already 2 GPs, you would be way better off playing GP2 and just into tempo than trying to play crew from not really good augments this game.
Yeah, also I want to recognize IronBog. He tried to go for the Kaisa and he didn't find it early. He was being griefed very heavily from Twisted Mind, and that was the plan. They tried to take IronBog out, tried to take him 7th or 8th, but no, he got 2nd. And a late Kaisa 3 was able for him to surpass the time. Once again, just good gameplay from Flashwolf. Twisted Mind has a good plan. The strategy is there. You need a little luck. You need to avoid that GP2 early for the enemy team. But for sure, it's a close series, Ginny. We saw it already. This is the rematch. So I really think it will be even closer. So still, my prediction is a 2-1.
Okay, I like how you're sticking to your prediction. And I mean, at the end of the day as well, for Flash Wolves here, they are coming off hot from yesterday's win as well. They have that confidence coming through after crushing a key. They're now here on this first game. So for Twisted Minds, if we're looking at it from this perspective here, Alan, it's the fact that they have now lost 3 games in a row. So for me, I am also a little bit worried of like, how are they gonna bounce back from that?
Oh, I'm all down. Mental go, mental boom to Flash Wolves go.
Oh, okay. I mean, you know what? For Flash Wolves side of things, they should be very proud of themselves that they're able to get this lead on. But something that we've seen today as well, Hoope, from every single one of the series so far, is that even though that first game might not necessarily go the way of the team that, you know, they're still bringing it back. We've seen 3-match series every single time today. I think a lot is on the line here, and the players are fully aware of that. So as you touched upon, the strategy is already there. It's maybe like a little bit of a tweaking of
khi nào khách hàng của Tony vẫn còn cầm len, vẫn còn có những thứ thật sự chưa hài lòng dù là những thứ nhỏ nhất.
Very convincingly.
Yeah, I mean, the second win-out condition, getting that first place was accomplished. So Ahau playing the Katarina, that is normally not the best possibility because it's actually different. It's being grief, same as the Kaisa. So 2-star, 2-cost, 3-star are the one accomplishes. So Ahau is the win-out player here. You could have another one, but once again, you said it in the previous game, Alan, you need 2 win conditions. So this is the first one. Now you need to have the other one, and the other one normally is an X factor.
The fact that Ahau hit their max cap while YYDM was holding 7 Katarinas is so crucial. Like both Twisted Mind players, Ahau and CHAN, without max cap there, are just going dead last. And it was such a bailout on the Prismatic argument, being a 50-50% chance essentially, a bit lower, 40% there roughly, was crucial.
We also have a little bit of a Twitter update because we have some kind words. So we're going to have a look at what's been said on social media when it comes to TFT at EWC.
Socials, 4v4 TFT is the best. Thoughts and feelings here, Cass?
Thoughts and feelings, yeah, of course. I mean, 4v4 is the best. I can somewhat agree. I think I'm a bit biased towards team games. I mean, my professional career was in a team game as well, so I think I really like that camaraderie, that teamwork that comes with it, so it does kind of get a little bit of an edge for me.
Yeah, I have to agree. Pro players love the format, and even normally you're very individual in normal TFT, but now there's a lot of group story, and that's the best way to perform. And if you have a group story, and then you're able actually to play with them and enjoy the game, I think it has to be one of the best formats. If not the best, we have to give it a little time later.
I think it's cool too because it like mitigates your bad variance as well because you also have your teammates. So if your variance is bad, like maybe your teammates will have good variance and it kind of gets to average out where it becomes a little bit more skill testing, especially because it adds a couple other skill testing things like sacrificing for your opponents, weakening your board, and then also griefing units of the opposing players.
Yeah, we see it in several times. Sometimes you don't have to be the hero. You don't have to be a top 1 player. Even though when you're helping the team, you are the hero. You're being the strategist. You're the one to talk. So I get the feeling, and I totally get with Milk. He's a yapper, but he's our yapper.
And it's a known opinion. Milk has been saying he loves 4v4. He doesn't even want to play non-4v4.
Auto-reclaim ambassador.
Yeah.
Okay, Hope, I was expecting some Twitter screenshots, shown to the camera where like, look what they are saying. But overall, it's been a positive sentiment around the 4v4 format that we're seeing here.
Yeah, especially from the players. Audience has been involved, but the audience is involved because the players love it. The players are saying this is the greatest format ever. Obviously, that's under discussion, but it has actually been a huge impact. Right now, for example, in Paris, in the TPO, that will be in December, Riot already announced that we also will have 4v4 on the second day.
Let's go!
So the format is going there, and obviously, it's getting great reception by players, by teams, and by audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Having the players enjoy it, casters enjoy it, viewers enjoy it. Why not push the format further? Everyone loves it. There is a way more depth into it, and just seeing like also clubs jump in and support the scene is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and with that, we are heading into another match of TFT of the 4v4 format with Twisted Minds going up against Flash Wolves. But first, a little break, and then we'll be back.
All right, and Robin Songs tweeted, 4-0, don't underestimate us advancing to the playoffs, right? And I mean, what do you think about this, Hupe? Don't underestimate us. They've shown it 4-0 in the group stages.
Yeah, we had them as underdogs, and they've been proving that they are amazing. So, I mean, Robin in his best form, being the veteran for the team, being amazing. Dan Means playing good, being BM with the rest, like talking about the rest.
Yeah.
We have this coming, and then making it work, because that's the thing. You can maybe try to insult, or you can try to say anything, but then you have to put the pedal in the metal, and they actually did it.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, like, Dank Beams has been so good for the past few sets, so him coming together with a couple of veterans. Solus, new set, he's always a beast. You definitely can't underestimate Solus the second a set comes out. And I think, we saw a little bit in the global qualifiers how good Citadels could be, but maybe didn't expect them to be this good.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Experience now for gameplay, and for Robin, of course, the age. This is the veteran. This is our grandpa, if you will.
Grandpa
So,
Robin.
yeah, we love Robin. We love Robin, and they're doing amazing. They haven't lost a series. They haven't lost a game. This is just too much, and the average placing is amazing. So I truly love them, and they could go all the way.
Yeah, what did he say in the interview? He's 59 years old, so I think he's the same age as the rest of his team combined.
59 years young is what I like to say.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the SNB Arena. Game 2 starting soon between Twisted Minds and Flash Wolves. Flash Wolves 1-0 up, a blowout win, although it was kind of close, but 3 players from Twisted Minds, from the CN team, went into that bottom 4. A heartbreak final fight there between the Swerg players that ended up with a K-Balbal win and the 4th place. Nerves and jitters we're seeing there. A lot of pressure on both of these rosters to perform in this game 2.
There's so many players that have came back from long hiatuses in their careers to find that second win on the EWC stage, to find 4v4 and call it a new port of home. We had Shunga, who's honestly, after he won the championship in TOC, he was kind of like, you know, I didn't find the same drive. He found it with 4v4. He's coming back with his teammates. Same thing with K Bao, who has been one of our best players from the ancient days of the Southeast Asia region, finally being able to get a competitive experience here.
We will see if any GPs come to YYDM shops across this stage one, especially. He's the player that had, of course, the most explosive start and middle part of the game in game one. A 13 win streak, which is so important. We talk about probably the most important facet of 4v4 being HP preservation in stage 2 and 3. If you preserve HP or if you lose too much of it, it's what sets you up for your finale and your game plans in stage 4 and 5. And the 13 win streak is just so important to give your team breathing room.
Yeah, despite all the interesting things that did happen in the previous game, I think you can't ignore the elephant in the room. GP2 is just very difficult to play around in all circumstances. So if I'm Twisted Minds, I kind of just put the previous game in the book. I just say, you know what? These Flash Wolves guys, they're always lucky, but they can't keep getting away with it.
Game 2 is surely going to be one for the history books. We'll see now I believe it's going on to the kill for now, the fruit. Yeah, just testing to see if you get one of the very strong ones, if you want to maybe play for kill reroll. Doesn't hit a strong one, doesn't hit any kills in the shop. Going to sell the kill instead. Maybe do the same thing now on the Syndras. If you find a Syndra 2 with Rising Chaos, can be incredibly strong for an AP start. We saw the Swain as well early.
Yeah, a lot of people do like tailoring for the Syndra. You drop your fruit on the Ezreal, throw it away, and then you put it on the Syndra for Rising Chaos and Heart of Gold. Those two ones are just very easy to play around. Heart of Gold is my personal favorite. You can just straight level, and it's kind of for free if you're in that line. Clancy is going to find himself some additional interest just to start off. Does look like perhaps 2 components. And we are going into a triple gold encounter, so there will not be too many crazy variants coming, at least from the augments.
Pyromaniac can be a strong option here with the red buff, just using so many different comps to great effect. Protector Crest, an interesting option. I know it's pretty strong on Leona, but definitely only if you get it, I think, kind of for free, not from a 2-1 augment pickup in terms of direction. Stars Are Born, though, a very different story. This is a strong setup for rerolls, as is the treasure hunt that we see picked up there by Shunga. Incredibly strong lines to play for.
Yeah, you almost automatically consider that a win-out position.
Ooh,
and
Clancy with the Deathblade augment, Deadlier Blades, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Where you get the extra AD off of takedowns. Very strong for just AD reroll lines, I imagine. Kai'Sa, for example, double scaling with both her kit and the augment.
I think we're being set up for a very fast tempo game right here. There's a lot of rerolls. Stars Are Born also coming in from Flash Wolves' side. So a lot of additional power. And we're going to take a look what Flancy is angling for. We have not seen anyone play the Xayah so far, so I do have to assume it will be going into the Jhin line. But you can still keep the stacks just playing with this carry.
That's right. Important to know for our viewers at home, these stacks are on the Deathblade itself. Only on that exact copy of the Deathblade you have. If you get a different Deathblade, you have to restack it, get kills again. If you somehow disassemble this Deathblade with Salvage Bin, the stacks are gone. So definitely do not do that, please.
Yes, that's an important thing to remember. Same thing with power-ups. Actually, all of the stacking power-ups do transfer between champions, but you would have to be very, very lucky to re-roll them.
Strong frontline setup for Haru here with a good amount of DPS from the Ahri. Single target, early game, there's not many units on the board, so she definitely does a very good job. It's where the late game where she kind of falls off when there's 8, 9 units to chew through. Her one-hit wonders with her ability, not quite as impactful.
Yeah, this is a really nice board for early gold generation and tempo as well. Haru just trying to decide between the Mentor, additional tankiness, or does he want the Sork? Does look like he's going to end up just putting the Kabuko onto his board. I do think that's probably a better option given that he has 2 items onto the front line of Rel. And it is going to be Flash Wolves on Flash Wolves action. One of them will lose that 100 streak.
K Baba potentially going to be the GP player in this game. I know he had 1 game of GP across the last 2 days, and he had a win, actually. So maybe has some positive reinforcement on going down this line. He is only sitting on a red buff, which does give you attack speed, Maybe not exactly best in slot for GP though.
I just want to point out, this is money laundering between Flash Wolves players. So far, it's 6 gold generated in this one fight by executions and also just by the Mogul's mail. So this is a cool thing about 4v4. You can actually try to set up these scenarios where the fights just go on very long.
Maybe remove items, get the DPS as low as possible, and just, if you're able to really read the board strength, you can get a perpetual loop going on for as long as the overtime takes you.
Kind of an interesting thing. I don't think it was intentional, but it was definitely kind of cool to see in that specific instance. Xingge most likely going to be the win-out player coming in for Twisted Mind. And this is the one thing that I think Twisted Mind has struggled with a lot, finding good win-out spots. It's best when it's on Xingge, because Xingge currently has been struggling the hardest this set and also in this tournament, and still in like a 6 AVP overall. So if he gets this boost of confidence, if he can drive home a win for Twisted Mind, it would be absolutely massive.
For now, Xingge not really committed to anything, hasn't slammed a single item just yet. With Treasure Hunt, you can play pretty much any reroll and find success. We've seen it work out with the crew, Katarina, of course. We'll see what line he goes for. He is holding, of course, some of the Battle Academy units on his bench, so potentially Katarina is the angle with a Quick Love pickup on this next carousel, for example.
Yeah, and with Treasure Hunt, there are certain playstyles where you don't actually even go for the reroll line. You do stack up those treasure chests into the later phases, but if you want to play on tempo, then it is advised.
There's a Katarina on the carousel as well as a Gangplank. So some of our reroll players, some key hits here, maybe even the Kaisa, right? Maybe some more prio between these two teams with how well Ironbog was able to navigate that Vi-Kaisa duo to the top 2 last game.
Second place was absolutely huge for him. Ironbog with the hefty rolls is already committed towards the reroll, and it looks like he will be taking over the crew spot.
Yeah, it's a very strong setup for the crew. We talked about it. Certain comps like the crew, you can't just play straight up on 2-1 any game you want. You can't force it. The stats in the ladder meta are not very good. But when certain conditions are met from certain augment starts, hefty rolls being one of them, it suddenly jumps up to an A tier, maybe even an S+ tier comp, with how much synergy it has with hefty rolls and augment.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see between Xingge and Ironbog who does end up on that crew line. Both of them are still holding the crew units. Obviously, Ironbog a little bit more dedicated to the line so far. But Xingge with treasure hunts, he could try to crash the party right there. We'll see how these shops end up for both of these players. Ironbog, 40 gold, just trying to get that hefty roll econ up so he can transfer it into combat power later on. And it does look like, yeah, he's just showing his cards right now. He's like, I'm not moving off this spot.
And it's especially impactful on Malphite because you get all the extra armor from his passive, from the items you equip, and then you have the extra HP to make it essentially more EHP as a whole when it comes to Malphite tanking and buying so much time for the crew ship damage to just take over in the late game. And you're just rolling so much anyway, right? You have all the crew rolls once you hit your first 3-star. It just works oh so well.
Ooh, and we're here to see who can challenge perhaps K-Baobao's full win streak. He usually has been the full loss streak player for Flash Wolves coming into this one, but finding himself a good tempo play here, additional items in a low component lobby, was able to do that for him. But
it's surprising. It doesn't look that strong, the board, no? It's like a red buff Lucian.
I was very taken aback by how easy he's been able to cruise to a 4-win streak.
And also has already used a remover, right? Which are premium in 4v4 especially, to take the red buff off of the Gangplank and onto the Lucian. Unless you maybe sold a Gangplank, but I really doubt that in this day and age.
Yeah. So it does look like he's going up against YYDM unitemized. Should be able to win this one unless we get some lucky rolls from that GP coming in.
Already adding a belt onto the Lucian, knowing that this might be a close fight, but it looks like it should be a wrap here. One last cast from the Lucian, takes on the Senna. A 5-win streak from K-Baobao. It's not YYDM in this case, being the one to preserve a lot of HP, but it is Flash Wolf as a whole in this game too as well.
Yep. Meanwhile, in the bottom end of the lobby, CHÂN and Ironbog, the two lose streakers here, being able to preserve their streaks, great for their econ. Oh, just as I spoke, the HUD updated, and CHԱN actually breaking his streak, so that was pretty unfortunate. Ironbog laughing here, so perhaps it was Ironbog, the one that took that streak away. Now he's going to start his roll down for the crew units. Does find 2 Sivers right off the bat.
6 Malphites as well, so we've seen some crew spots where they have 1 Sivir and they have a couple Malphites. This is looking much, much better after just a small roll on level 4, potentially being able to go back up to above 50 gold we're seeing here.
Just seeing to find if you can hit Guinsu's Rage Blade, perhaps the best item for this composition. You can use it on so many different carries here. Streaking situation, I would say this stage 2 definitely more a bit in Flash Wolf's favor, but there are a lot of players where we don't know where they're actually landing with the compositions.
And Ironbog, does he have a predisposition in individual TFT to, is he known as a reroll player? I know he's a very good fast 8 creative player. Did he ever have kind of a predilection for reroll as well?
The only reroll he really enjoyed was actually the Nitro Flex reroll, and I'm not sure how rerolly that actually is.
That's reroll plus, basically, with some extra flexibility.
So he's not known for a reroller, to be honest, and he's known for fielding all of his forecasts.
Yeah, basically Bintum, similar playstyle.
Yeah.
Well, he's a reroll player in this series. Had a great top 2 with Kaisavai. Last game is now going to be the crew player trying to potentially turn this win streak around, or this lose streak around somewhere in the stage 3 and scale alongside the hefty rolls. We'll see what the next augment coming up is going to be on 3-2, because it could be so impactful to some of these game plans that are already very structured. They're not flexible. They're pretty much locked in from 2-1 onwards.
Yep, we are seeing some of the dedication come out. Stringa is going to land up on the GP spot with Treasure Hunt. He is going to be the win-out player designated, already all eyes locked in on him. So that's good news, at least there's some direction there. Also, good finds on Ironbog, and he was able to hit the Guinsus like we were talking about, probably the most critical item. Here comes the big roll down.
Portable Forge was an option for Flancy with the Mundo Jin reroll, which I'm surprised he didn't go for. Maybe too much of a gamble. Instead, goes for the magic roll, finds units that are not quite able to fit his comp. The Caitlyn does actually with the snipers. Maybe a little bit of a damage boost alongside that Jin 1 for now. Surprised he didn't go for Portable Forge. No, there are some very strong hits from Mundo especially.
Yeah.
Maybe too much of a gamble, really. With
Both
those
of the players from Twisted Mind actually avoided a Portable Forge, which I thought was slightly surprising. We're having big roll downs here. No GP2, sorry, GP2 found on Stringa. You guys probably know what I'm using for my browser. The other hand, Flancy does manage to find the Jin in the final roll here. So a little bit of a under roll, I would say, coming from Stringa. You definitely expect to hit 1. But he does have the keepers for that, so I still expect him to be able to streak out on stage 3.
A lot of that is also holding a lot of units on his bench, right? He has a 2-star Malphite, 2-star Sivir, trying to deny Ironbog from hitting his 3 stars early. He has 2 copies of Yasuo and Udyr, which are expensive. This is one of the biggest skill tests when it comes to this comp, is how to balance out how many copies you're holding of your other mentors before you find the rise.
Oh, and Ahae also very well established right here, coming in with the Yuumi. As we've seen, he had extra EXP on stage 2 to work around with. So we are getting a much clearer picture across the board where all these players are going to land up. K-Ball, as always, flexing for Sorks. I think he's pretty much the Salvi of APAC, can we call him that?
Yeah, I think he's starting to earn that title. Has a JG, has the Striker's Flail, and has a sword open as well. So really going to be trying to hunt for a tier on this next carousel. He is last pick, so I mean, Twisted Minds, if they are as wide awake as they should be in an elimination match like this, they should be denying any tier, and they have to hope that the Wolves PV round does not give that tier for the Shojin for K-Ball.
Yeah, the pressure is on. This could be the last match for them in EWC. It feels so weird to say that because Twisted Mind has been so dominant in a lot of the scrimmings that we see in the CN scene. But everything comes down to this matchup here. K-Ball still with a 7-win streak, and it looks like it will continue against CHÂN. That this is the board that we haven't seen from Twisted Mind, is looking like he might be forced to contest a Sork spot from a rather disadvantaged position.
Yep, has picked up Epoch. This is the difficult position to play Sork from, and we've seen it time and time again. There is that one player that is thrown to the Wolves, and they basically tell him, hey, roll down and hope you stabilize because we're going to need your help in stage 4 and 5. For now, a non-factor, just free-falling in HP down to 47 now. And that roll down with the Epoch rolls could be the help he needs to get there.
Yeah, definitely needs to save those up. I expect that he's going to, just hoard those until level 8 coming into it. Coming into this carousel, there's no critical forecast right here, at least for our compositions. Maybe the Jinx is useful for someone like Flancy that's going to Juggernaut snipers, but otherwise it's quite tame.
Eyes on the tier that is open here. Does Twisted Minds let it slip? No, Flancy's on top of things, picks it up on this Nico as well, and denies that Shojin slam for Kebaobao as the current HP leader coming into the almost stage 4.
Yeah, great call out right there. He needs 2 tiers to finish off his composition, still with the Void Staff and the Shojin open there. And CHÄN, this is the board that we're most worried about for Twisted Minds. He has 0 upgrades across his entire board, going straight to level 7 in a very weak position coming into this.
This is for me the hardest games of TFT to play. When you have no resource, no power stage 2 and 3, you're going fast 8, but you're really at the mercy of your roll down. Of course, a skilled player like CHÄN, the I think factor that really helps him out is that he is able to roll down and make a much stronger board than I would in terms of his flexibility and his understanding of unit synergy outside of the cookie cutter short comp. So we'll see what other frontliners he holds on that roll down and what kind of comp he's able to assemble once it all comes through.
Yeah, and the tough thing for him is, if you look at the econ, he's not really even ahead of Kebaobao. Kebaobao with the full win streak, and I believe Midas touch on the Lucian as well, was able to farm up, and the EXP bar, he's even ahead of CHÄN. So if we're just going, 50-50, then you do expect Kebaobao to actually win out on the roll down.
Maybe even Kebaobao, maybe both players have to roll on 4-1, but it is one thing to consider when there's 2 players playing for the same comp, the same 4 cost. If one player has an econ lane, he can roll on 4-1. If he somehow hits all of his karmas, he can tell the rest of his team, hey, everyone hold karmas on 4-2, and this could really throw a wrench in the plans of the kind of loose streaking or the player that is kind of not really high rolling much when it comes to his econ.
Yeah, it does have that rich get richer situation when you have teammates to play along with. You've hit already, then you can just play full denial. The good news is that even though CHÄN is in a very tough position, I do expect Xunge to still be able to carry out onto the win out spot. Treasure Hunt is just that powerful. It is a prismatic augment in disguise.
It is once again at the end of the stage, Kebaobao versus his teammate, YYDM. This could be another 10 win streak for Flash Wolves in this game too. We saw it from YYDM last game. We could see it this game from Kebaobao. So important for all the extra gold he's been able to accrue from the win streak itself.
I wonder if they did coordinate for this to happen, but it looks like Kebaobao's board is just strong enough to power through regardless. And yeah, gets it without even proccing the round 2 on that Udyr. So once again, this is just, strategically very advantageous for Flash Wolves because they can then borrow so much HP to the rest of the team. Now is going to be the time where we have the 10 win streaker roll down versus the 5 loss streaker roll down coming into this.
And weirdly enough, CHÄN can't really start rolling on creep because he has to wait for the econ or XP to come through at the start of the stage. He doesn't want to he wants to min-max every single bit of gold he has. So he is forced into, we're seeing it here, very high APM. We saw from Salvi in this position where you almost always roll on 8 down to 30 gold to buy yourself enough time to do everything on 4-1. CHÄN is forced to min-max his augments and do it all on 4-1 instead.
Yeah, this is going to be the critical round for both of these players. How fast can they roll down? When can they hit those karmas and stabilize right here? This is the story of EWC coming in for them, and it could all happen within the span of 50 seconds.
They're off to the races. Ready, set, go. Pump to 8 and start pressing D. Who can hit that Karma 2 first? Who can hit the front line to stabilize? Who can hit the Gwen high rolls especially? That's one of the big questions as well. CHÄN also has item component anvils to work with, so a lot of APM will be required here from CHÄN, and we're not seeing much of anything yet. Has hit the Ahri upgrade. That can be the damage carrier for now, but no Karma whatsoever. Still so much to work through here for the board on CHÄN. There is a Karma and a Gwen. Karma in the shop though, so stun lock for Kebaobao as well. He might lose his win streak.
Yeah, I will say, unfortunately, that this is a really rough roll down when you look at CHÄN. 3 critical units ahead on Kebaobao's side. He hit the double Karma and also the Gwen, which makes sure that you can then sell the Ahri and get a little bit more gold to juice up on those roll downs. So this is, putting even more pressure on Xunge, I would say. Xunge with the treasure hunt, the win out augment, he really needs to get that first place right now. There is almost no alternative.
The round 2 so clutch here, buying time for the Lucian and the Ahri to clean up the Mundo to potentially win this fight, to continue the win streak, and now allow the breathing room for Kebaobao to continue repivoting his board. Maybe this win streak will become a 13 or a 15 win streak like we saw last game.
Wow, such amazing spots coming in for the Flash Wolves players early on here. There's also a reinforcement. Oh, but he's on the 2 Karmas. He's not going to pivot into that. And this is where we see him clean up onto the board, go for the 3 mechs, and hopefully find the Karma. Wow, big finds here for his front line. Just missing that Karma.
Can't tell the Aries, but it's the Karma anyway for the 6 Sorcerer. Has 6 more gold to work with.
Oh, I think he just puts his items back onto... Oh, okay. He swaps around the Lucians there.
Still doesn't have that last Shojin to complete the BIS on the Karma. We're seeing now the crew player, Ironbog, with all of those hefty rolls, has dropped down to 44 HP, but the crew usually stabilizes around this point once they're able to start hitting all of their 3 stars.
And it's very interesting. We see a reinforcement being taken by Ironbog, so I wonder what forecast he's going to play around. Maybe he's going to try to deny the rises from the pool, a very popular forecast that can also be used by the crew composition.
Very good win for K-Pop's win streak, and also just minimal damage being taken by Ironbog there as well. Could also be Leona as a Bastion. You deny the Yuumi player if there's no Yuumi player on Flash Wolves, for example. That could be a little way to make yourself tank here while also min-maxing the Grief game as well, which is so important in 4v4. There's the Leona. Ironbog's considering, is that the option he wants to take? Looks like it's not. Potentially, I think just the Yuumi player already has Leona too. He was probably scouting and then seeing, okay, never mind.
The Jarvan or the Rise, probably the most important ones. If he gets the Jarvan, Achen is just in such a bad spot.
Jarvan, especially because we already saw K-Baba hit his Jarvan on his 4-1 rollback, or 4-2.
So Ahale right now carrying the HP lead.
YYDM, Sniper's focus on the Gangplank. We were talking about Portable Forge, how impactful it can be when you find the broken interactions between units and artifact. And this is one of them. So strong to get the stretchy arms Gangplank going earlier than ever.
He's been heavily denied onto the Kabuko, and I think that's the big problem with his composition. He could stabilize on stage 4 with just GP2, but with how many Kabukos are out of the pool, that will become an issue. He's also free-falling. Achen finally getting some wins. That's important.
Big stabilization. There is going to be a TF yet again on the stage 4 carousel for the crew player. And I believe Ironbog was first pick, alongside Achen. It is on his side as well, so yet again, the crew player is in some ways saved by a very early TF in stage 4.
Is that the way crew is having great AVPs? You just hit max cap, or you just get fed Twisted Fates? All right.
Looking at the boards here, we're seeing Leona 2, Yuumi 2 from Ahao. So alongside K-Baba, the 2 strongest players in the lobby from separate teams, playing separate AP Fast Acons, with both players looking very, very strong.
Yeah, critically this game, none of the 2-cost rerollers have actually hit their main carries. So we're seeing a lot of HPs dip super fast in stage 4. This is the hold hands together strategy. Jhin is being denied, Kabukos are being denied, and
big
of course
hits
the
here. 3 off Ziggs, has hit the Shen now as well as a secondary tank. Still has reinforcement up, so essentially down an augment, which is why we're seeing Ironbog lose some of these fights.
Oh, and here's Stringa with his final board. He has used all of his treasure hunts. Let's see what he's able to find. A lot of times you do get artifacts or radiance coming in for it. The artifact is going to be for Kabuko in the front line. He's a Hull Crusher. And he's going up against Achen. He did not look like he weakened his board much at all. Achen might just be in free fall.
We'll see the GP3 with just 2 items is enough. The Ahri is going to be better at bursting, but yeah, Ahri's already down. GP is doing his thing, shooting his pirate gun, and Achen now down to just 1 life.
There was 2 Reforgers for Stringa
Removers.
Here. Removers, sorry. But he didn't try to weaken the board, and I actually think that's correct. Achen's probably unsalvageable at this point.
Yeah, Karma 1 still. Look at Ironbog still 3 copies away from that Ziggs, which would be the big power strike, but TF now has found his way onto the board. We are level 7 now. We will try and stabilize off of this. Still down an augment, has not really been able to use that 4 cost at all, and with TF being found, there's not really a slot for that 4 cost either. I guess you can remove the Gnar if you find more frontline stability.
This is the critical fight. Who is going to take that 8th place? Achen is going to go up against YYDM. YYDM has a large part of his board missing, but does have that artifact. Oh, he's going to get the extra range now.
Swain's already down. The Gangplank's onto the Karma. The Karma's passed, but it's too late. It's a blowout win. Achen Gonna be taken down in 8th place. A low roll stage 2 and 3, stabilized for a little bit, but then back-to-back losses to a teammate and now to a sniper's focus Gangplank. And Twisted Minds on the back foot in the series and also in this game too.
Yeah, if you take an 8th place, it puts a lot of extra pressure on Shinga to move ahead, but as we've seen from Shinga, I don't think his board is actually that strong. He was contested multi-way on the GP, and of course everybody was just holding away the units from him, and I don't think his artifact is going to make a huge amount of difference. I love this from CHÂN though. He knows he's down, but he's not out. This is what you should do in 4v4. If you get eliminated, start coordinating for the team.
Yep, you're essentially just a set of eyes on all of the opponent's boards. Every minute detail you have to cover, itemization, what components to take away, what items are missing from their main carries, even just small positioning details. You have essentially a camera on all of your opponent's moves across the rest of this stage 5. That's the one little minor upside. Ahau, yet again, being the hero for this Twisted Minds team. Dominant with Katarina reroll last game, won that one, and now just in a dominant position. Goes level 9, 30, 40 gold to roll with, can really try and cap out this Yuumi board.
Unfortunately for the Yuumi board, we haven't seen this be a first place board, so that onus for someone to win out has to still be on Shinga. It's very difficult to play around in this situation. Ahau has to lend his HP to Shinga, also needs to try and preserve that slimmer of hope for maybe the Yuumi 3s or the Leona 3s to keep going.
Ironbog fighting off against Shinga, and Gangplank walks his way all the way up to Sivir, to one of the main carries on this crew board. No sniper's focus, no problem. 13 HP, that could be the last nail in the coffin here for Ironbog. A pivotal mistake we saw from Salvi in day number 1 of this tournament, playing Karma, and yet again here from the Sivir.
Yeah, it's very difficult for that board to kind of deal with the Katarinas and the GPs, and that's one of the reasons I think the crew has done worse in tournament than on ladder from what we've seen. Flancy, as we were talking about, likely not the win-out spot as well, just being forced to roll super deep, no 3-stars upgrades onto his board.
I think 4 sniper for now, with the Varus adding in some anti-heal, adding in the Wraith for the Jhin, but is it going to be enough? Down to 17 HP, so should be 2 lives in stage 5. It has to be kind of a giga loss to get taken down at this amount of HP.
Yeah, we're not really sure what Haruru has been playing, but Haruru is still able to win on stage 5, so you kind of expect Clancy to be in the worst position and likely forcing Twisted Mind to get a 1-3 to move on.
Yeah, Ahau here, I think it's going to be a cleanup win on, or a cleanup win here for now, but oh, it is going to be an elimination. Oh. Onto Flans, he deals exactly 17 HP. That is a critical mistake, I have to assume, because he maybe had 1 more life in him, even if just to preserve some HP for a teammate, if not to get stronger himself.
Yeah, Ahau is 65 HP. You expect him to be willing to sack a little bit there?
Not even sack, but just make sure your board is not so strong that you're dealing 17 HP in stage 5. That is a huge loss for Flancy. Especially with the Zyra plant in the top right corner, it took away so much DPS from the Jhin across the first stage of that fight.
I have to feel that's a communication error coming in from Twisted Mind. The pressure is really mounting at this point. Shinga now also on 1 life. If he falls down here, that is the game.
Items have been removed now from Ahau, so is understanding that he has to weaken his board. He is way too strong for his teammates. He has to have some breathing room for Shinga. Haruru on the flip side, fighting off against the Sorg board. Can the Yuumi with the Gunblade heal back up? No, the Karma Disc comes through, and Haruru's also going to be taken down now for Flash Wolves.
So that does mean the blowout win situation is taken off the board. However, Shinga and Ahau, they do have to go 1-3. And I think that's why Ahau was only saving his removers for Shinga. He knows that Shinga is far, far more likely to get that 3rd place compared to Flancy's board.
Last few items coming through here. Not really the most pivotal of 5 costs. Leona 2 has already been hit long ago in terms of the 4 cost space as well.
I don't really think YYDM has much gas left into him. He's just been denied that GP3 for so long. YYDM likely taking a 4th, which means we will be seeing a 1v2 situation in most scenarios when it comes to the final 3 players. The critical thing, of course, here is for K-Baba. He's still streaking. He could just win the match here, or he could go level 9 for the Gwen 2.
If he faces Shunga, that could be it, right? Yeah. Because YYDM, if it isn't the strongest player now, he does still have 2 lives, 19 HP. I will, I think, take the risk and say it is going to be 2 lives in stage 5 still. It will be YYDM versus Shunga, so this could be it if somehow this sniper-focused Gangplank has enough damage, enough, just aura to kill off Shunga here.
Yeah, he will survive this fight regardless, but I do think that YYDM is kind of destined to go into the 4th place here. He's just missing so many upgrades compared to Shunga, and of course the treasure hunt is such a massive power boost to this comp.
And there was a loss from Kebabao as well, so it looks like maybe he is starting to meet his maker in terms of who is the strongest player in this lobby. It could be Ahal at this point in time. You mentioned there's not really a way to cap Yuumi as hard. I think part of that is Seraphine not really being the strongest unit right now as a 5 cost.
Is she a 5 cost?
She is a bit of a trait bot, unfortunately, mostly just used for reaching that 5 prodigy, which helps so much with the healing on Leona. Maybe a Braum 2 could be that missing piece of the puzzle.
And this is the critical fight for Shunga. He does have his Kabuko right in front of the Karma, which means that the Sork burst damage is not going to proc too early, but a lot of needles into that backline.
And Karma maybe onto the GP and the Kabuko here as well. GP taking chip damage. The Eon could proc early. Karma might be